It's Mira Business FM. This is the Morning Drive with me, Tim Elliott, and it's education that we're turning our attention to next. Something of a debate coming up too. Strict new rules here in the UAE on generative AI in schools, and it's going to curb use for the under 13s. We're talking about that next at Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
It's the morning drive. This is Mira Business FM, and we're talking education because the UAE's Ministry of Education has just introduced a new AI framework. It's the 2026 Safe and Responsible Use of Artificial Intelligence in Classrooms manual. So a booklet in theory, and it sets out clear boundaries for how artificial intelligence may be used in schools. And what the manual does is it regulates the use of generative artificial intelligence in schools. That's the AI that most of us are using in one way or another, things like ChatGPT, and it's in a step to protect academic integrity, safeguard students, and maintain a disciplined and secure learning environment. Two guests with me this morning to talk this through, see what the impact may be. Dr. Claudia Zito is the Director of AI and Robotics Research at Heriot-Watt University in Dubai. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's very good to be here.
Thank you for coming in. And Zaina Fahouri is a parent coach. She's also a child psychology researcher. Good to meet you, Zaina.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Good to have you both here. Look, generative AI, we all are beginning to use more and more. It's things like ChatGPT or Gemini, stuff like that. So we're all kind of aware. Let me start with this. Dr. Claudia, I want to come to you first. Your initial thought, because this is prohibiting generative AI for students under the age of 13. Immediate reaction to that?
I think it's a very good idea in a sense that we needed to protect the children in doing the hard work and develop their creativity, curiosity, and ability to solve problems. So relying on something that gives you immediate answers is not the way to obviously learn, and protects also the teachers because provides guideline on the use and enables the teachers to focus on the way to learn, on exercises and pedagogy of the children. So I think it's very good that the government stepped in, and governance is the key to have transparent, inclusive, and safe use of technology.
Zaina, what do you think? Would you echo?
Absolutely. I was very happy to learn of it. I think it's very smart to start somewhere. Tim, it's really, you would be surprised that there are almost no research currently about early years and AI. So really, what are we dealing with now? So the UAE has stepped in and protected our children, honestly. I'm not saying it's probably the perfect, nobody gets it right from the first time, but they're actually putting clear boundaries, like protecting our children from the unknown at the moment, and definitely protecting their learning, the basic skills that they need to develop at that age. So, I'm definitely echoing what,
I mean, we've all seen the language used with things like this is UAE bans AI for children under 13, and it's very kind of dramatic language. The simple fact is it's not to be used in schools. And teachers are in charge of this until year 7, so around about the age of 13. That's not to say that children can't use AI at home or be familiar with AI at home outside of school, but the idea here, I guess, is to try to ensure that those problem-solving skills, the natural ability that children generate, I suppose, to investigate and to learn in specific ways, the way, the curriculum is trying to inculcate in children. That's the idea behind this. So it's important to get that across at the outset. Dr. Claudia, do you think that this kind of structured, age-appropriate AI framework could set maybe a new global benchmark?
Well, as I said before, governance is important. So you need to regulate these kind of tools. And I do believe that, let's remember, Gemini actually came out not even 4 years ago. It was released November 2022, if I remember correctly.
It's almost yesterday.
Right?
Yes.
Right? But had a huge impact on our life, right? It's been dropped into society and had, definitely has changed completely the way we work. But we maintain our way of, we can utilize that as a tool, as an assistant, and that is improve your performance. If you have kids that grew up in this area, and we have seen it with technology in general, that remove this from the children, then you have the society will not grow, and you don't have a workforce that can actually go and use this technology and problem solving and do what we do. So governments is the key. I do believe that we need benchmarks, and I would be so happy to see that different countries like EU, the States, Asia countries will combine together, put effort together to regulate these in a way that is homogeneous across the different part of the world. Obviously, that is a long-term dream, but this is a very good first step, and I do believe that we need this. We need to try out, see what's work, what is not, and improve. The law here is obviously quite strict in a sense, but again, they are not removing technology or teaching technology to students.
See, that's the point, isn't it? It's not taking technology away. It's about responsible adoption of technology. And you make a really good point there, I think, that this AI kind of turned up on our doorstep the day before yesterday, and we're supposed to deal with it, and kids are supposed to deal with it, and we're supposed to be able to work out within a few years, how does this fit into our lives? How does this fit into the education system? So really, I mean, Zaina, it's about responsible adoption of AI, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it was the sense of urgency that, as we are all used to the UAE being a leader, and they've sensed that, okay, we need to step up. I think around the world, you were saying that it's actually a good thing to set that benchmark, and I think it will be. Because it's more of being that gray area zone around the world. Like for example, in the UK, I think they're keeping it according to the school. Each school will decide how much to use the AI, and it started to become this way here. Just until the government stepped in and said, you know what, no, we're going to be more disciplined. We're going to have the boundaries set clearly for all the schools so that they'll be accountable. So parents will know what to expect, and they will know what's allowed, not allowed. Teachers will know as well. Children will know as well. Like, this is very important because AI is, as you said, it started, what, like 4 years? I thought it was 2 years. It's already 4 years ago. And it's so embedded in our lifestyle every day, and we don't know how children are going to be affected. You were talking about basic problem solving. I think it's the basic of thinking. It's thinking for us rather than teaching children, teaching them how to think for themselves rather than just generate the information for them.
Yeah, I mean, as much as anything, when you have new technology, it's about how we integrate that technology, how we use that technology. And the thing with AI is it's a pretty pervasive thing. It's very easy to be over-reliant on it and to not use it as the tool it was intended to be. You know, it's an assistant to us, and we're kind of over-reliant. It's interesting, if you look at some of the international viewpoints on this, the UAE view is very much early years should focus on creativity, things like social interaction, foundational skills, the really important basic stuff of learning. In Japan, people, the Japanese government, Japanese people, if you like, are similarly cautious about this. That seems to be the reaction. Early exposure to advanced technologies is limited in some ways, as much as Japan is very advanced technologically. But the attitude in South Korea is very different. And, you know, technology is introduced at a very young age. So, you know, in different countries, there are different approaches. Zaina, let me continue with you for a moment. How much do you think that strict controls on AI protect academic honesty? And I use that phrase advisedly. You know, giving students time to adapt to learning the basics, doing the hard yard stuff, you know, really getting things right from the start?
Yeah. You know what? I think learning honesty is a big one. It's about once a child starts, for example, at an age where assessments are appropriate. So this is a huge thing for them to know that they need to be doing the work rather than generate that work. At an earlier age, they need to start with the basic fundamental skills, such as you were mentioning, problem solving, creativity, but also social skills, also grit, also perseverance, and trying to get that information, trying to understand that information from a real person interaction, from a teacher, rather than, when you are talking to a teacher, from their reaction, the personal, especially with younger children, that's what they need, that personal touch of knowing they're doing right, wrong. They need to work harder, work less. They need feedback for their work, and they won't get that once it's easy to just generate that work. So honesty goes with learning rather than, some people would say learning honesty is just not cheating in an exam. No, it's just learning the right way. That's honesty. They need social skills. They will be dependent on even their social skills with their AI companionship. I don't know if you heard of that term right now.
Yeah.
So they will be dependent on a companion called an AI, very easy access to just ask them whatever question that comes to their mind, rather than interact with a friend, their mom, their dad, their teacher. So we've actually tackled in what, 1 minute, how many skills did we tackle for a child to learn for themselves, rather than just generate easy answer, easy access.
Well, this is so important in parenting, isn't it? You have this, you have a child and you want to do everything possible for them, but you can't do that because at some point you got to let them go.
Exactly.
And they've got to do it for themselves. And the AI approach is very much, here's my phone, I can do anything with my phone, I can talk to my phone, I have a companion in my phone. Simple fact, Dr. Claudio, is it's not really a companion, is it? It's an assistant, but how much is AI your friend? And I wonder if we need to make a distinction there a little bit.
This is actually a great question, and I've been a panelist in a conference a few days ago, and I heard somebody saying that AI is a new race. Like it should be there as a different race, a new race on the planet. Actually, I disagree strongly on this. I don't think it's a race, and we needed to consider as a living thing. But the way AI think is alien. That's the key point. Yeah. Because they can think, they can connect the dots in a different way than humans do. They have a completely different approach because they're based on completely different models, right? Therefore, they can come out with better solutions sometimes to problems, like have you seen genetic modeling coming out with new chemical reactions that humans haven't figured out, but it's an alien way of thinking. So the interaction needs also from the user understand what you were saying is correct. You have that human interaction with your parents, with your friends, with your teacher, and there is empathy, there is emotions behind these interactions. AI completely doesn't have that. It has rules, but we have seen there have been tragic events where this rule can be bypassed by strong interactions with the AI. So it's not, doesn't have that ethics and that emotion that a human has. So it can be a companion, but not in the loose sense of the word, where you have a friend you can confine. It's an alien way of thinking, an alien way of reaching the outcome, and we don't really understand why this, the outcome can be generated, because we reach that singularity where we need AI to actually control AI. in order to be able to understand why some
Yeah.
decision has been. And as a researcher, what we do, we run diagnostics all the time. We don't just have the machine taking decisions. We have to also to understand what's happening inside, to monitor, to try to figure out if there is actually a correct answer. Because sometimes it will surprise, and it might be a correct answer, but it might be surprising because I haven't actually think that as a solution for the problem I have.
So we don't really understand AI fully yet, but we're all using it every day, which kind of reinforces the point of the argument, I suppose. I mean, we see different approaches internationally. In Japan, there's an emphasis on harmony and controlling tech adoption. In the UK, where I'm from, it's a little bit more flexible, maybe. There are school-led approaches to AI integration, but I think there's trepidation there. In the UAE, obviously, we see we're going to be very careful about this because we're not sure what's happening. South Korea, as I mentioned earlier, quite an aggressive policy of early adoption. The belief there is that you need to embrace and you need to maintain that kind of global tech leadership that we see in South Korea. So very different attitudes. Zaina, how do you think that the UAE's, this new AI policy, if you like, reflects a balance between embracing the cutting edge tech that we're all using, but also preserving the cultural attitudes and empathy that we have, the behavioral and the educational values?
Actually, I think it's the smart way to do it. Like UAE does support innovation, big time, progress, and but they want to do it the right way. They just want to. So, as you were just mentioning, you do research, and you like. How do you work with AI if you don't have the critical way of thinking? You cannot. I mean, AI needs us to keep them in shape. Let's say so.
AI needs us to be the boss, doesn't it?
Exactly.
It's about prompting and asking questions in the right way to get an outcome.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is very good, which is critical.
Absolutely, and understand where they might go wrong, where they might hallucinate at some point. So we need to teach our children how to think for themselves, how to get their information, and how to be critical with what answers they get from the AI. So we need to teach them that before using the AI. So actually, I do feel like the UAE is actually doing it the right way by having those rules clear, set, so that we teach our children the basic skills that they need in terms of socially, emotionally, cognitively, problem solving, everything that they need as a base, and then teach them how to use AI. What might go wrong? There are different ways of, generating a result from an AI, and as a class, try to look at it in a critical way. Is he hallucinating? Is he saying right? Where does it go wrong? This is how we become innovative at the end of the day. So this is how the UAE will promote innovation and progress the right way in a right base.
That's a really good point, I think, actually. That's a really smart point because, Dr. Claudio, if you don't look at technology with an inquiring mind, if your belief in technology, and that comes from a very young age, is that tech is always right, AI is going to give me a really great answer, you're not going to push any boundaries in the future, are you?
Yes. I have to say that I work for a UK university, Scottish University,
Yes.
indeed, and we do have similar rules to guarantee, obviously, ethics and academic integrity. So our students are not allowed to use Gen AI to write reports, for example, dissertations. In some courses, will be enabled to use Gen AI for, writing code if it's not a coding class. And correct your report or something like that. They have to disclose also there is an integrity in the way you have to explain how you used it. And again, I'm teaching at university, so there are adults that should be able to address this technology in a proper way. This again, Gen AI came out 4 years ago. So my students at the moment had not had Gen AI when they were under the grade 7, right? Still, the use of Gen AI is not appropriate all the time. You can see that a lot of students do not know how to use that in a proper way. Now, is that because they come from places where technology was not taught in a way that they could understand how to use this as an assistant? So I believe that this rule protects the children, and again, they are not taking technology completely out of the question, so they are just taking Gen AI. But also you need to, will not solve the problems. We have seen that Gen AI has been dropped in society. People are using it in so many different ways, right? And not always this in the... So we needed to, I believe, also to educate people maybe after, age of 13 on how to use it properly, to guarantee that people understand what this tool is, how it can be used.
That's what we're discussing this morning. Claudia Zito is Director of AI and Robotics Research at Heriot-Watt University here in Dubai. Zainab Fakouri is here as well. She's a parent coach and a child psychology researcher. The news is strict new rules here in the UAE on generative AI in schools, curbing use for under 13s. The debate will continue after the news. A number of questions still to ask. There's a lot to talk about here. And that's next here at Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more.
Good morning, it's 9:30 a.m. I'm Sahar Mushtaq and this is the news on Mira Business FM. These are the headlines. Some hotels across the UAE are increasing iftar and suhoor prices this Ramadan as demand returns to pre-pandemic levels. Industry executives say bookings are being made earlier than in previous years, especially by companies and families. While rates have edged up, hoteliers say that offerings have also expanded, including larger buffets, more live cooking stations, and enhanced entertainment and decor, with guests increasingly seeking experience-driven gatherings. Corporate group bookings are rebounding strongly, and demand in the Northern Emirates is reported to be back at pre-COVID levels, prompting hotels to boost capacity and target higher revenues this season. The US dollar held its gain in a light trading today. Investors are waiting for signals from the Federal Reserve's meeting minutes and new US GDP figures later this week. Trading was quiet, with some Asian markets closed for the Lunar New Year and US markets shut down for the President's Day holiday. The dollar index stayed steady after a small rise. The euro and pound weakened slightly, while the yen edged higher, according to Reuters report. Markets expect possible U.S. rate cuts in the coming months after softer inflation data supported the case for easing policy. Australia's central bank says inflation would likely stay high if it had not raised interest rates this month. Officials are still unsure if more rate increases will be needed. Minutes from the Reserve Bank of Australia meeting show that policymakers were concerned about risks to inflation and employment. They said recent data increased worries that inflation could remain above target for too long without action. The board agreed to raise the cash rate by a quarter point to 3.85%, reversing one of last year's cuts, according to Reuters report. And now, quick market and currency update. Bitcoin today is trading at $68,215 and for those tracking remittances, 1 dirham equals about 24.71 Indian rupees, 76.22 Pakistani rupees, 33.33 Bangladeshi taka, 15.78 Philippine peso, 12.72 Egyptian pound. Meanwhile, 1 British pound is equal to 4.99 dirhams today. That's the news for now. Follow more news on our website, mirabusiness.fm.
Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive. We are discussing educational topics this morning on the first day of the year of the fire horse as well, by the way. The year of the snake has ended. So there you are. The morning drive with me, Tim Elliott, here at Mira Business FM. And the news is that what we have seen in the last few days is that there are strict new rules here in the UAE on Gen AI, generative AI in schools, curbing use for the under 13s. The UAE's Ministry of Education has introduced a new AI framework, and it is the 2026 Safe and Responsible Use of Artificial Intelligence in Classrooms manual. Dr. Claudia Zito is the Director of AI and Robotics Research at Heriot-Watt University in Dubai, still with me, and Zainab Fagouri here as well. She is a parent coach and a child psychology researcher. There's so much to talk about here and so much to unpack, and it's kind of made that much harder because we really don't know much about AI. It's around for 4 years. That much we've kind of got to grips with this morning. Zaina, let me ask you a question. Do you think that this kind of unified national AI framework, because essentially that's what we're seeing, this is obviously a federal decision, do you think that can help reduce digital inequality in that you can make sure that over time all students get the same safe, perhaps more structured introduction to AI? And that I feel as though that's one of the the linchpin pieces of thinking behind this manual.
Yeah, you know what, Tim, the gray area zone I was referring to a little while ago, it's that's what teachers are actually having to deal with every day. How much AI can I use? How, what can I send home? Parents as well, they don't know what to expect, what's right, what's wrong. And it's becoming, as you said, it's becoming unfair to some children because their teachers aren't, capable enough to make that decision, or maybe it's really tough. So some teachers get it right, some teachers get it wrong, and I don't know to whom it's right and wrong. So once they have that clear boundaries, clear, set of rules, age appropriate, what to implement, what not to implement, it will actually give that sense of equality you were asking about, to some extent, because at the end of the day, AI is actually rapidly, changing every day. So still with that framework, it will be still hard, and it's still a huge burden on teachers, which, God bless them, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be in their shoes, but it will actually definitely give that sense of equality for students, knowing what's expected of their teachers, what they can implement, what they can't, at least to be in the more clear zone.
It strikes me that in a weird sort of a way, I'm going to draw a parallel and you're going to look at me and think, what is he thinking? But in a weird kind of a way, it's almost like the school uniform thing. Follow me on this. It will become apparent. So if you have children in school uniforms up to a certain age, the thing about that is it just levels the playing field. So all the kids are the same. And this decision with AI is kind of a similar thing in a weird...
True.
In my parallel universe, that kind of works.
Yes.
So it democratizes things,
I got you.
That's kind of where I was going with that. But the thing is here, Dr. Claudia, this is... Everything that we're talking about here is a balance. So if you restrict AI to preserve creativity and independent thinking, that strikes me as being a good thing for young children to try to get across that. It's important to think for yourself. It's important for you to make your own decisions and to learn in that way. But there's also on the other side, and we don't know how far this is going to go yet, the creative potential of AI, and also by extension AI-assisted learning as well. So the balance there is hard to strike.
It is. But I think Zena made a very good point before, talking about the human interaction and emotion, something that AI doesn't have. So even AI assisted learning takes that out. Do we want that? right? I don't think that's something that is desirable at the moment,
Okay.
especially for early young children. But my point is, yes, we needed to learn about technology in a safe way, and I do believe that this technology will need to be used in certain cases and has to be controlled. I have a PhD student, for example, that is studying how AI can help people with attention disorder, because obviously it's controversial. Fast, quick word where you get all the answer creates a disorder in attention, right? But can we use AI to actually improve this, slow it down, right? So there are a lot of research going out there, and maybe we will see cases, particular cases where there is the benefit of using this kind of technology.
Can I say something though? Do you think that would probably breach the personal safety? Because at the end of the day, to do that, you need to personalize it. To personalize it, you need to collect some data. So do you think, because this is one of the things that actually UAE is trying to protect, your personal data and privacy protection. But if the AI is actually to be personalized to help attention deficiency or disorders, don't you think that would actually also, like, do you see what I'm getting? Like that balance we're trying to reach is actually very controversial. It's actually very hard to achieve with such a fast, changing AI.
That's the point, isn't it?
Yeah,
The point is that this is, I mean, without wanting to sound too corny, this is a new frontier. We don't know where we are. We don't know where the limit is, or if there indeed even is a limit at the moment. And that's the point, isn't it? So, the UAE approach, to me, now that I'm kind of thinking it through, it seems sensible because we just don't quite know where we're going. And I think that it's apparent to all of us in here. I kind of expected this morning that, Zaini, you would be, no, this is a good thing, AI needs to be this. And I thought Dr. Claudio would be, no, technology is the best way in the world.
Absolutely. That's what, yes,
But
absolutely.
it hasn't been that at
Yes,
all. And I
yes.
kind of thought I would sit in the middle on the fence, which is my usual uncomfortable position. But it's really not that. And I think that kind of reinforces that this UAE approach seems to be the right path at the moment.
Absolutely.
4 years in, where are we?
Well, is a research tool. I actually, the data has been dropped into society so fast, kind of against my religion. And I would like to use, I always use this example of cards. When cards were developed, were not like a lot of cards around, not a lot of people, a lot of teenagers had the opportunity to put their hands on cards, right? There were absolutely no regulations. And then with time, we created regulation. Now there are driving license school. You have to learn how to drive. There is an age, appropriate age to start. Obviously, you might argue that there are still bad drivers out there, but if something happens, we know who's the fault, how fault it is, right? Because there are rules, there is governance that tells you that's something you shouldn't have done, right? Even if, OpenAI, if you go to this company, they are not slowing down because it's an AI race at the moment, and they needed to be on top. If they slow down to make it more ethical, more safe, more inclusive, the other country, we have seen different countries have different rules, will win the race. So they're not going to do it. And they're dropping out this technology that from a lab point of view, if I'm in the lab and ask you, to come and interact with my robots, you are in a safe environment, right? I can control, I can understand what's happening, and you have this, expertise that protects you in a way. If I drop my robot in your house, I don't know how that is gonna, right? So,
Zaini, you're getting a robot, but
I
we're
know.
delivering one this afternoon.
yes,
Yeah.
so that's the point. There's been they're not being cautioned in the way because they are following these AI race. And we are here. And, so the only thing we can do is create rules and trying to be sensible in the way we are using it. And the state, for example, the government has created rules to actually empower the release of these technology. They want to win the race. Korea is doing the same, right? EU is being more cautious because we always are a bit more sensible on these matters, I would say. But again, we are in the middle of a very, very turbulent age.
I mean,
He
that's
knows.
true, isn't it? We are, and it's potentially an amazing technology that's going to make our lives a million times better in the long run. That's the theory. But we don't know at the moment quite what path it's going to take. So the UAE is taking kind of a phased approach to AI literacy. That seems to be. So what we do know is that we're still going to be educating small children. So early developmental needs are still going to be there. Whether we like it or not, that's how it's going to always have to be. So it seems sensible to continue in that way. Do you think, with that in mind, Zaina, that this kind of emphasis on it really is accountability for how we use AI in schools. Do you think that strengthens or potentially strengthens educational discipline, and then and also trust in technology in a way as well? Because we know that we're trying to get to a point where this is okay. Does that make sense?
It does. It's hard to think of it in that way because we know exactly how children learn.
Right.
Years and years of research. We know what's the best way for the classroom to be, and it keeps developing. It keeps, with time. I have two children. I have a 13-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy, and education, the way he started FS1, and when my daughter was in FS1, she was taught in a completely different way, although it's the exact same school. We've developed education. We've always adapted it in a way so we know what's the best way for our children to learn. We don't know how to implement AI into classrooms to support learning. We know what technology companies, tech companies are telling us, what they think will benefit our children, but not educators. We don't have enough research. We don't have enough years of use and years of experience to know how our children will benefit. Definitely making it easier for our children. We know for a fact from past research that making learning process easier for our children will not and never help them, will not help develop their grit. They will never help them, find their way in life, critical thinking, again, with empathy, everything. We try to teach our children in so many ways that AI is actually making it a shortcut for them. So we're becoming more reliant as adults, let alone a child who is 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years old. So that's the complication, with introducing AI, is that we don't know, and it's actually more harmful than helping teachers. We don't see a teacher or an educator introducing AI in a way to support, how education must be for our children. We're just finding tech companies saying that this is easier for teachers.
No, it's a good point, actually. I mean, I would hazard a guess that most teachers of worth, I should put in there, and I'm saying the great majority are in this camp, I would say most are viewing AI with some trepidation and would question the importance of introducing it into a classroom more than is absolutely necessary, because, simply put, we become over-reliant on these things, don't we?
I've read several researches and studies, and they've actually asked, it's in the US though, US and Canada, and they've asked teachers of, again, not elementary, primary school. It's just the adolescents and above, like up to high school. You find 60-70% of teachers against it, saying that it's actually more harmful than beneficial. When you ask young teachers of primary, they would be like, not sure, maybe not, because they haven't tried it. So for me, those answers are actually really alarming, because when you introduce it to a teacher who is really, their heart is in teaching those children, but they are not sure, it might help or might not. Here's the UAE stepped in and said, no, we can't be in that gray area zone, like, oh, maybe it works, maybe it not. Give that teacher the autonomy of either using it or not. We're going to actually set the bar high, in my opinion. And to be very honest, if you ask me, 13 is a good age, I would also question that. And I'm telling you from studies. But it's a great start.
It is.
It's a great start.
We all know that most of the schools here, children have their own personal device, whether it's a phone or an iPad, so the option is there. But to take this out of the equation democratizes things. I was going to ask you this question, Zainab, but I'm going to ask Dr. Claudio this for a reason, just for his thoughts. Concerns over behavioral and the cognitive effects of AI on young learners. How do you compare that potentially to other digital tools?
Yeah, that was a question for her.
It was. But I'm asking you that for a reason, for your thoughts on, what alarm bells immediately raised. We've talked a lot about governance with you. I think governance is absolutely the key, and that's what we're seeing. But, in your experience with students at Middlesex University, older, I know, but, you have worked with students that come from educational backgrounds where they weren't taught in a certain way, or there's a different attitude. So I'm wondering what you think.
Cognitive behavior of the student. I've seen, it's impacting them. The way they're approaching the classes, the exercises, they think they can delay, right, the work, because they have a tool to make it faster.
Right.
And I believe that it's really dangerous and affects them immensely. Now, for example, when I was a student and I was at the university, most of the time we didn't have slides. And again, I did math and computer science, so I had my professor with the patches on their jacket here, right, on the blackboard with chalks, writing formula, and you had to take notes, right? And your notes are horrible. You learn how to take better notes, but in my experience, I never managed to learn how to take good notes. So I had a notebook with the notes I would take in class, and then I would sit there and rewrite that in a better form with more clear after the class. And I would have that notebook, that one I would use for studying. And that exercise of writing it down would massively help me in learning what. Now, nowadays, I don't see any students taking notes. And if they do, they took it on the laptop, right? It's a completely different interaction. I'm not sure how much they rework on their notes in order to have that exercise and practice, they metabolize those notions. And so how, after they pass the examination, do they still remember what they have studied, what they have learned for the examination 6 months later? Right? So I find myself often asking questions that are not related to my class, but to previous class. They are kind of introductory. And a lot of the students struggle to remember because there is not that, practice and constant reminding of those elements. When I was studying analysis 2, for example, I had analysis 1, linear algebra book with me because things were interconnected and some of the points that the professor would explain, I would find in other books. I'm not sure the students at the moment, they do that. And they are adult. When you move from high school to university, it's a completely different ball game. You have to learn how to learn, right? But high school, mid school, needed to teach you to problem solving, but also how to learn.
See that I'm exactly. I still do that now. I still work that way now. Genuinely, I like with this interview this morning. I had to make lots of notes because I didn't know where to go because there's so many ways of doing this. So I wrote an interview and then I thought right. So then I rewrote it. But it's the only way I can learn it because I have to keep reinforcing it. That's a specific way of learning. So then I went to AI and said, have I missed anything? And AI gave me another couple of pointers. Now, I think that's a reasonable way to use AI as a tool, but I'm not using it to cheat, potentially. And I think that's the way a lot of people see it, Zaina. Let me just find, we've got literally 20 seconds for you to answer that same question. Oh my God. Just a few, but what would you add to what Dr. Claudia said, just to finish off?
Okay, so basically practice is something really I need to step into, is that any skills our children need to learn, and they learn it at an early age, they need to practice it. When it comes to problem solving, grit, anything, like they have to, it needs practice. And unfortunately, AI will make it easier for them to bypass the practice and, willing to work and, that one more.
No, go on.
Yeah, one more thing is a feeling that superior, like what defines adulthood from children is experience, knowledge, and, and once they have that tool showing them that they can get what adults have, this will also actually change that dynamics of that social, behavioral, feeling I'm superior to my parent or teacher.
Do you know what I really like? You said something there. You can't bypass the practice.
You can't.
You've got to put the work in, and unfortunately, that's just the way it is. Those are the rules now. Dr. Claudia Zito is the Director of AI and Robotics Research at Heriot-Watt University in Dubai. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Do appreciate it. Great to have you here. Zaina Fakouri, and the same goes to you as well. A parent coach, child psychology researcher. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. This is Mira Business FM. The news next.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
Good morning, it's 10 a.m. I'm Sahar Mushtaq, and this is the news on Mira Business FM. These are the headlines. His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the first deputy ruler of Dubai, deputy prime minister and minister of finance, has met senior business leaders in Dubai. He held talks with Sir Michael Kaduri, chairman of CLP Holdings and the Hong Kong and Shanghai Hotels Limited. The meeting focused on strengthening global partnerships and expanding the quality investment. Sheikh Maktoum reaffirmed the UAE's commitment to an open economic model supported by the flexible regulations that encourage sustainable growth. Discussions also highlighted Dubai's tourism strength, backed by strong infrastructure and diverse attractions. The Emirate recorded a historic 19.59 million international visitors in 2025, according to the Emirates news agency WAM. Both sides reviewed opportunities aligned with the Dubai Economic Agenda D33, aimed at reinforcing the city's position as a global center for tourism, investment, and innovation. Some hotels across the UAE are increasing iftar and suhoor prices this Ramadan as demand returns to pre-pandemic levels. Industry executives say bookings are being made earlier than in previous years, especially by the companies and families. While rates have edged up, hoteliers say offerings have also expanded, including larger buffets, more live cooking stations, and enhanced entertainment and decor, with guests increasingly seeking experience-driven gatherings. Corporate group bookings are rebounding strongly, and demand in the Northern Emirates is reported to be back at the pre-COVID levels, prompting hotels to boost capacity and target higher revenues this season, according to an article on Khaleej Times. The UAE and Bahrain have launched a pilot initiative designed to make air travel faster and smoother between the two countries. The single travel point system allows citizens to complete entry procedures before departure. This is expected to reduce waiting times and congestion at the arrival airports while supporting tourism and trade, according to Gulf News. The program is being introduced at Zayed International Airport and Abu Dhabi in Bahrain International Airport. It uses digital platforms, biometric verification, and secure data sharing to process the passengers in advance. The US dollar held its gains in light trading today. Investors are waiting for signals from the Federal Reserve's meeting minutes and new US GDP figures later this week. Trading was quiet, with some Asian markets closed for Lunar New Year and U.S. markets shut down for the President's Day holiday. The dollar index has stayed steady after a small rise. The euro and pound weakened slightly while the yen edged higher. Markets expect possible U.S. rate cuts in the coming months after softer inflation data supported the case for easing policy, according to a report on Reuters. That's the news for now. Follow more news on our website, mirabusiness.fm.
It's the morning drive. My name's Tim Elliott. This is Mira Business FM. Coming up next, we're going to welcome AJ Menon, who is the CEO of Lux Vista Real Estate. Question this morning: Dubai real estate agents overpaid, undervalued, or just misunderstood? Question mark. That's next at Mira Business FM.
Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
It's the morning drive. My name's Tim Elliott. This is Mira Business FM, and it's time to welcome AJ Menon, who is the CEO of Lux Vista Real Estate. AJ, it's always good to see you.
Likewise, Tim. Good morning.
I'm liking the orange, by the way, today. It's if you're listening to this AJ has you have more shirts than any man I've ever met, I think, and they're all monogrammed. He's very sophisticated. You look well. So this morning, Dubai real estate agents. I say that word, and I can feel people bristling around me, unfortunately, and I think that's terrible because we've talked about this before. A good real estate agent, worth their weight in gold, no doubt about that. But let me ask you this to start with: are Dubai real estate agents overpaid? Are they undervalued, or are they just misunderstood?
I think I'm going to talk about a lot of things here, which is going to make me one of the most unpopular guys in town.
Well, that would be a first, wouldn't it? I know. Well, how many real estate agents in this town?
It's all, there is no fact behind it. Some people say it's 80,000, some people say it's 100,000, but I'm not sure if there is 100,000. And even if there is, how many are RERA registered and how many are part-timers?
Yeah.
So there is, I have no clue, because you might have the numbers coming from 1 to 100,000, but is from 20,000 to 25,000 people still there, or they've gone? So when somebody new comes in, it is going to be 25,001. That is going to be a RERA number. But it doesn't mean that the last few people are already living in Dubai. They must have gone.
This is true. Okay, so we don't really know. But one thing anecdotally I think we do know is that there's no shortage of real estate agents out there.
That is correct. There is a lot of, the consensus basically between the agents and the clients are, they think there's a lot of real estate agents out there, and most of them are always idiots.
You did just say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're just pushy, they're noisy, they are sort of a nuisance.
Okay. Well, that would be the kind of, maybe that's a pervading opinion that people have. But the simple fact is, you need an agent, don't you?
Definitely. See, when you are buying a property, you could or you could not go through especially in the off plan. But when you have to rent it, when you have to resell it, then everybody comes looking for an agent.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So the actual rule is that, if you have to sell it, if you have to resell the unit, you can only use 3 agents maximum.
Okay.
And in the rental side, there is no maximum.
Is that a rule? 3 agents maximum?
3 agents maximum.
It is.
A
Okay.
DLD rule.
Okay.
But then that rule doesn't extend to the rental part. So you can have the same unit being listed by 10, 15 agents.
Which is, I hear that a lot.
Which is actually a bad thing, because what is going to happen is, if you are going to be a buyer and you look on Property Finder, you can see 25 units in 1 bedroom in one of the buildings in Dubai Marina. But it's actually only 3 units which is there. But it has been listed by multiple agents, and that is why they feel that there is a lot of options out there.
Yeah, okay.
So it's not a great thing.
That makes sense. Yeah. So you need an agent to list your property. Unfortunately, there are there's a lot of
costs associated with.
Well, actually, this is interesting. I didn't know this.
Yeah. So how this whole thing works is basically, you have practically a duopoly here in the market. It's basically Property Finder or Dubizzle by Youth, which is now the same.
Okay.
Right? So, and everything works on a credit-based system.
Right.
So technically, and it's increasing. And typically, a credit would cost somewhere under 3 dirhams a credit. But you are supposed to make, as an agency, you're supposed to make a commitment for a year, and you have to buy a minimum X number of credits.
Okay.
So you might be buying 10,000 credits, you might be buying 20,000 credits, but that's billed monthly, but it's a contract is annually.
Right.
So just to give an example,
okay.
Right, a 3.5 million dirham unit in Dubai Marina, if you have to list it, it costs 150 credits or 450 dirhams.
Right.
Right, and that is going as a standard listing. Which means in a high traffic area like a Dubai Marina or a downtown, you are number 27 or 28 page when you scroll down.
Okay.
Nobody in the world scrolls more than 2 or 3 pages.
Right.
Unless you start filtering, price by low, price by high, the newest, whatnot. There's a lot of filters or sorting mechanisms in these property finders.
Yeah.
So then what is the next option to come slightly on top? There is something called featured. I'm just talking about Property Finder at the moment, where it has its own different types of different naming for these kind of aspects. So the same property will cost you about 1,500 credits.
3 times as much
3
to be
times as
featured.
much,
So
yes.
you're eating into your credits
Correct.
that you've paid for.
Correct. That's about
Right.
4,500 dirhams for a listing, featured listing in Dubai Marina. And
Sorry, so that's 10 times as much. Credits,
10
3
times.
times as many,
Yeah.
10 times as much in terms of actual cost.
that is correct.
Wow.
And still you are somewhere in the page number 3, page number 4, somewhere there.
Right.
Because especially I'm talking about areas which has got a high volume of transactions, high volume of thing. If you go to some studio city or something like that, you just need a standard listing. That's fine.
Okay.
And then again, if you want to make it to the top, there's something called premium listing.
So there's a level above.
There's a level
the
above
features.
featured, and that is
Right.
going to be almost 4,000 credits. 13,500, almost 4,000 to 4,500 credits, which is around 12,000 to 13,500 dirhams.
Okay. I had absolutely no idea about this at all.
And now, if the sellers does not cover the agency, that seller's commission is not mandatory. Buyer's commission is mandatory in resales. But most of the sellers are now having to spend this 2% commission, because if they do not pay that 2% of seller's commission, the listing would be a standard listing. Why would the agency put it on the top? Why would they spend that money?
Well, for sure. I just had no idea it was quite as technical as it is. It seems it's a lot more intricate than I realised.
I think I'm going to be getting all the hate of all the real estate people.
Well, you are. Yeah, you're uncovering things that maybe you're not supposed to. I don't know. So at this point, off-plan advisors disappear.
Yeah, because these people are part-time guys or two-man band. They don't have the resources. They don't have the people to it. They don't have the money to commit to these property portals.
Okay.
So when you ignore somebody, a proper agency, and then go for somebody who's part-time, who has no expense, they can give you what sort of discounts or whatnot, which is not ethically supposed to be done. They can do it because they don't have any cost. But the actual full-time agencies, they have a lot of cost.
Okay, so one of the things, in any real estate market, this is not unique to Dubai, it's wherever you go, there are amateurs and there are obviously rogue agents as well. I mean, that's a standard anywhere in the world, isn't it?
That is true.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Okay, so why is that?
Few reasons. Like they said, there is a lot of agents. Yes, there is a lot of agents. And are there a lot of idiots? Yes, there are. But there are also good ones. But why this is basically number one is very low barrier to entry. Anybody with a pulse and who knows a language can get into real estate.
Okay.
Because the real estate agencies it doesn't cost much because they work on a commission basis.
They've got nothing to lose.
They have nothing to lose.
You may find a diamond in the rough.
10 people come in, no problem, please sit in the chair. They just have to provide enough chairs, that's it. And sometimes they don't even need a chair because they'll be working from their home.
Okay, all right then, yeah. I mean, you've talked as well about part-time brokers. I don't know, I don't think about real estate a great deal, but it hadn't occurred to me there'd be part-time brokers, but of course there are.
There's a lot because either if they're cabin crew by normal profession or they're executive assistants or they're working in some offices, and in the evening they become property advisor.
Yeah, okay.
And the only property they've seen is probably in a brochure.
Quote marks.
They've never bought anything on their own.
Right, okay. So the thing is now we've all got a platform, haven't we? So if you want to spend time growing an Instagram page and turning yourself into a real estate influencer, or whatever you want to call it, you can do that.
Exactly, and this is also the reason why many people try to get into this industry, because they are completely dazed by the fancy launches, the Instagram pages, the influencers that they come up with, the fancy cars. These are all rentals. I mean, very few people actually own real cars. I mean, that would be a normal car, not like the G-Wagons. The G-Wagons, they're not distributing G-Wagons free of cost in Mercedes-Benz.
No, I wish they would, but there you are. That's different, man.
So most of them, the watches that you see are the fake ones from Karama, some of them. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but most of them are like fake it till you make it kind of.
But you make a good point. I mean, it's very easy to come across in what you perceive to be a high-class way on Instagram without having to spend,
I think
high-class money.
the whole thought is basically, if I appear to be high value, then high value clients will be attracted to me.
Yeah. Okay.
But what they don't understand is these high value clients are not even on Instagram.
That's probably a good point. Yeah.
They are not wasting their time on Instagram. They're not wasting. If you want to find them, probably they are on LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So get the platform right first of all. But I suppose you create a page and then you link in different. But I mean, I kind of see the logic. So there is a very low barrier to entry. Lots of people are doing it part-time. But that, again, we're looking at people that maybe aren't adding as much value as the really good agents are.
I really hope that, I think there must be some kind of regulation that comes in and says that, if somebody has to work in real estate, it has to be full-time only. They should not be allowed to have a second job, a second contract for that matter.
Okay. Okay. So it shouldn't be a side hustle.
Shouldn't be a side hustle.
Right. Okay.
That could come from the government side, actually. If they have this regulatory means that, you can work only in one, you have to have only one contract if you're working in real estate.
You see, I like everybody else, I look at some real estate agents in a particular way, and it's maybe not the most complimentary way. But my wife's nephew, my nephew, I suppose, really came to Dubai he's been here, 10 months. I saw him the other night, and he stayed with us for a while, and he joined a real estate company. But he came with the attitude that this is what I want to do. I'm going to work at this. And he's really worked, and he works very long hours and works really hard. And he's starting to see the fruit of his labours. Mm-hmm. And he knows the developments, and he's learned a great deal about Dubai. So he's put the effort in. And I have to say, I mean, if I'm really honest with you, he won't be listening. I wasn't sure it would work, but I respected the fact that he made the decision. He wanted to give it a try because he thought, I really want to try that. And I think he's doing really well. That's so good. To me, he's one of the good people. So they are out there, but the amount of work he's had to put in, the failed deals, the difficult clients, he's not been paid for, because he hasn't made anything for a while, and he's gone through that.
And this is exactly what I want to say, because all these videos that everybody makes, these Instagram videos, it's been seen by potential buyers as well. So they think, oh my God, are these people, are we being taken for a ride? Are these people being so much paid and those kind of things? So everybody sees, it's a two-way street. Everybody sees these videos. So that is the misconception that these potential buyers have, and they also have that kind of animosity towards these agents. They think that they're celebrating on their account.
Yeah. Okay. No. I'm with you.
As I said, they don't, and most of them are kind of fake, but they really don't understand the months of no pay, the hard work, the failed deals deals that doesn't go through, the buyers bypassing them and going directly to the developers. They don't gain anything out of it. Developers are not going to give an extra discount because you're buying directly from them. They just save their agent's commission. That's about it. It doesn't benefit the client at any stage at all.
All right. So, to back you up, you're not saying that everybody is fake. There are fakes wherever you go in any walk of life. But, it's, real estate is a booming industry. You're going to find more. Just the numbers are there, simply. But there are also these genuine professionals who are trying to do a good job. They're closing deals, and good on them, obviously. So, natural next question: How do you track down a great agent, AJ? What's the secret?
Simple question. First is, if you have a friend, ask for a referral.
Okay.
Nothing works as a referral or a recommendation as much as anything, any marketing fluff you see out there.
Right.
The second thing is you see 4 or 5 agents on their social media profile. Track them for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. Look at their the videos. Look at the content they're posting. Is it just the launches and the fancy brochures, or the whatever thing? Or are they actually giving you some advice which makes some sense? Is it aligned with the government thing? So does this man or does this person have some kind of clue about where the government is going, what the agenda is, and is he giving you true advice? So you cannot see it with 1 day, 2 days. Follow them for 2-3 months. This is not a decision that you have to take overnight.
Yeah.
So go through that. Then finally you shortlist 2 or 3 maximum. Don't work with 10 agents. There is no need.
No, that makes it. I mean, that just makes life hard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes hard for everybody.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm totally with you on that. So if you think, right, I'm at this point where I like the look of this person. The cut of their jib works for me. What do you do then?
Okay, then you should also come and think, am I ready to buy now?
Okay.
Then you reach out to the person. So if you are ready in the sense, like if you are ready to buy in the next 1 to 3 months, that is when you are ready. Right? And not like, if I think I might buy sometime end of next year. You are not ready. So you reach out to the person at that time, because Dubai market keeps on evolving, or the UAE market itself.
Yeah.
So what is good today might not be good. What project is good today might not be even available at that time when he's ready. So it's just a waste of time for everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And what kinds of what would you expect from a good agent in terms of the questions that they ask you, the investigation into what you need?
Definitely. This person has to ask you questions. In fact, what is your objective of buying? Is it for you to live? Is it for rentals when you get the property on handover? Or is it to flip it at the time of handover?
Right.
Because each product is different. So unless see, if you don't tell the symptoms to your doctor, he cannot prescribe you a medicine. I'm not equating doctors to real estate agents, but we are kind of similar. We solve people's problems.
That's the first time I've heard that, and I've been around for a while. No, I like that, so I understand that. So, all right then. So, when you find this agent that you really like, and they're asking you the right questions, and you think they're working on my behalf, because that's the point, isn't it?
Correct.
This is a partnership.
Right. See, exactly. So, like you said, this is a partnership. So there is a set of responsibilities that the agent has, and there is also a set of responsibilities that the client has. Both have to be there. I mean, it is not like, one person has obligation, the other person has nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if I am an agent, my primary goal is to protect my client's interest and investment. This is number one, non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Right? And then the next thing is like, the person actually comes to me and says that this is my budget. There might be a slight tolerance, plus or minus 10-15%, not more than that. So you actually suggest units in that range. Don't try to upsell him something which is beyond his budget. That fits his alignment, aligned with his investment goals.
Okay.
Right. So because I've seen when you get a guy, these people, what they do is, this one is actually much more this thing, so my commission is much more higher. So they just try to upsell. We are not salespeople. We shouldn't be salespeople.
That's an interesting statement. We shouldn't be salespeople. What should we be?
We should be their friends. We should be their advisors.
Okay. There's an element of selling, isn't there?
Exactly. It's everybody sells something.
Right.
But the thing is, this person, of course, you are going to invest. You're going to buy something. Yes, there is a sales transaction happening. But it is not just about only sales.
So it transcends. So
Yes.
You're saying, okay. So those are agents' responsibilities. We're so short on time today. As is always the case, I suppose. Just very quickly, the responsibilities of the client in 10, 15 seconds, if you can.
Like Spider-Man says, with great power comes great responsibility.
No, yeah.
Okay, number one, the thing is, if you're going for an off-plan,
Yeah.
right, you should have at least 30 to 35% of the cash in hand. Don't hope for it. You have to have.
Right,
Otherwise, don't even
right.
think about it.
Got you.
Number two, have the clear objective. Do you want to buy for live, to rent, or to flip? Okay. Then the next thing is basically, if you're on the secondary market, have a pre-approval ready. It's free. 3-4 days and you get a pre-approval.
Make your life easy.
Make your life easy on everybody.
yeah.
Because even some of the sellers wouldn't even want to show a unit without proof of funds. And the last thing and very important thing is, please do not ghost.
Okay.
See, the decision to buy is entirely yours. Right? You have the right to say if I want to buy it or not. Say, no, I'm not interested. See how easy it is?
It's not that hard, is it?
It's
No.
not that hard, right?
Oh, I'm so with you. I am so with you. When people don't reply.
Don't keep people hanging. I mean, just say the truth and then move on. I mean, they can do their stuff, you can do your stuff. Or probably they can even suggest you a better one next time.
We'll leave it there, but don't ghost people. I'm with you. AJ Menon, CEO of Lux Vista Real Estate here in Dubai. Always good to talk to you. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's Mira Business FM. The news next.
Mira Business FM, your daily guide to the markets, money, and more.
Good morning, it's 10:30 a.m. I'm Sahar Mushtaq and this is the news on Mira Business FM. And these are the headlines. His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, first Deputy Ruler of Dubai, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, has met senior business leaders in Dubai. He held talks with Sir Michael Kaduri, Chairman of CLP Holdings and the Hong Kong and Shanghai Hotels Limited. The meeting focused on strengthening global partnerships and expanding quality investment. Sheikh Maktoum reaffirmed the UAE's commitment to an open economic model supported by flexible regulations that encourage sustainable growth. Both sides reviewed opportunities aligned with the Dubai Economic Agenda D33, aimed at reinforcing the city's position as a global center for tourism investment and innovation. Gold slipped below the $5,000 an ounce mark in thin trading as Asian markets were closed for the Lunar New Year and the U.S. observed a holiday. Bullion fell about 1.5% following a 1% drop in the previous session. The gold rally on Friday, driven by modest U.S. inflation data, briefly raised hopes for a Federal Reserve interest rate cut. Spot gold was down 0.5% at $4,967 an ounce as of 10:25 a.m. in Singapore, and silver slipped 0.4% to $76 an ounce. Platinum was little changed, and the palladium fell just over 1%, according to a report on Bloomberg. The U.S. dollar held its gains in light trading today. Investors are waiting for signals from the Federal Reserve's meeting minutes and new U.S. GDP figures later this week. Trading was quiet with some Asian markets closed for the Lunar New Year and U.S. markets shut for the President's Day holiday. The dollar index stayed steady after a small rise. The euro and pound weakened slightly, while the yen edged higher, according to Reuters report. And now, a quick market and currency update. Bitcoin today is trading at $68,352, and for those tracking remittances, 1 dirham equals about 24.71 Indian rupees, 76.22 Pakistani rupees, 33.33 Bangladeshi taka, 15.78 Philippine peso, 12.72 Egyptian pound. Meanwhile, 1 British pound is equal to 4.99 dirhams today. That's the news for now. Follow more news on X and WhatsApp. This is Mira Business FM.
It's the morning drive. This is Mira Business FM. My name is Tim Elliott, and coming up, it's our weekly legal discussion, the fine print. Should you allow AI to draft legal contracts? Is our question next at Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
It's the morning drive. It's Mira Business FM. Artificial intelligence again, second time this morning because it's coming up wherever you look. It's drafting emails. AI is proofreading documents. It's prepping presentations. It's basically helping most of us in our daily tasks in one way or another. But when it comes to contracts, the real nitty-gritty, the fine print, if you like, that can maybe make or break a business, should you really let AI take the lead? Now, from cost savings to, and I guess speed as well, to liability, to legal blind spots, entrepreneurs are turning to tech to handle their agreements. The question, though, is whether it's innovation or exposure. So on today's edition of The Fine Print here at Mira Business FM, we're going to look at whether AI should be anywhere near your contracts or not. Raymond Kiswani is a legal expert, is partner at Davidson & Co., here to help us hopefully separate the promise of AI from the potential pitfalls when it comes to contracts. Raymond, always good to see you.
Very nice to be here.
Looking resplendent, the pocket's square.
Absolutely.
We're blue today.
Blue, yeah, exactly. It's the official colours of Davidson & Co.
It's
So
dapper.
I've got to represent.
Well, you're doing it well. So look, this is a really important topic. We're talking about AI this morning with the regulation from the Ministry of Education of AI in schools. So children under 13, year 6, essentially, AI is not part of the system until the government can work out, a way to bring it forward. Yeah. The consensus on that was pretty good idea to help children learn critical thinking, and it's a conservative approach, but a sensible approach. Yeah. Whether we like it or not, AI is pretty much everywhere. We're all using it. So are you, first of all, seeing more businesses using AI tools when it comes to drafting the legal stuff that you would have done, well, it seems like last week when AI wasn't here. But are you seeing more of it?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It's accelerated both from clients as well as from other lawyers. So it's accelerating at a light speed type pace. Yeah. In the past, we might have clients find some sort of template online and try to play with it and try to bring that to you. Or it would have been a very basic like, hi, I need a distribution agreement without any context to it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Now it's we're either seeing it on the unfortunate side where it's too late, where it's a client comes to us and a dispute has arisen, and we're reviewing the contract, and we go, "Who drafted this for you?" "Oh, I did it through ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever it was," and that's a very horrific story, which we can certainly get into. And then the other side that we're getting is clients have come to us and sort of said, here's a contract that I've drafted. Can you review it for us? And we're going through it, which at least is significantly better. And I can kind of discuss more the practical sides of it. But the answer is we're certainly seeing it a lot more from all types of businesses, and it's not unreasonable that we are seeing it. It's fast. There's cost pressure. And what is being generated looks and reads like a professionally drafted contract. Yeah. And that's really the dangerous part, is it sort of looks and smells like a real contract, but the fine print, the nuances are the ones that are getting us into trouble. Startups and entrepreneurs are busy. They're thinking, why do I need an in-house lawyer? Why do I need to go to Davidson & Co. or Raymond or whoever who's going to charge me X amount? I'm just going to do this. And unfortunately, you don't know the dangers until it's too late.
Yeah.
The post that I did, I think it was just over the weekend, that I had been seeing ads on Instagram of AI can draft your corporate contracts. And it was this kind of ad. I have no idea. I've never heard of it before. But you can have things like your will drafted, your shareholders agreement, your corporate governance contracts being drafted by AI. And the post that I did was, that's trading speed for litigation. That's saving $20,000 today to potentially pay $2 million tomorrow.
See, this is the
Yeah.
thing, right? AI is only as good as the prompts that you deliver. It may read great legalese. I don't really understand legalese, and I would hazard most of us don't. Is it? I think I can guess the answer to this. Actually, is it ever safe to rely on AI-generated contracts?
Well, I mean, it's really interesting what you said in terms of it's only as good as what it's been fed.
Yeah.
And that goes on two things. One is the information that you have fed it.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think a lot of people are forgetting from things like ChatGPT and Gemini is it's being said that it has read and it has understood everything that there is on the internet. That is sort of true. But the nuance there is that it has read and understood everything that is in the public domain. What it has forgotten,
Right.
what's been forgotten is that us lawyers who have spent years in law school and then years training and then years of legal experience, us as lawyers and law firms, we have subscriptions to things like Westlaw, LexisNexis, the PLC, which are subscription-based, and they are giving us access to not only just the legislation, but case law, analysis of laws, guidance notes. And we have had our own experiences of these things, which ChatGPT and Gemini don't have. They only have what is accessible effectively on Google. So it has read everything on Google, but it hasn't read all of...
It doesn't have every precedent that's
Exactly.
ever
It doesn't have
happened
those
okay.
subscription-based
Yeah.
that we have, that we are getting. And you know, each lawyer here in Dubai is required every year to effectively do 16 credits, up to 16 hours of continuing legal education that we are continuing on from that 3 years of law school, 2 years of training contract test. So I mean, in terms of your question, is it ever safe? I think it's the word safe depends on what you mean by reliance. Yeah, if we're saying can AI produce text that looks like a contract? Yes, it can. Can you sign that and sleep well at night? Only in very limited cases, I would say, and even then with real caution, because the practical legality is that contracts aren't just fancy words. They allocate risk. They set expectations for parties. They determine remedies. They determine how you terminate. They determine jurisdiction and governing law. And AI doesn't know those real commercial deals unless you have told it everything and it has understood everything. And sometimes it's not what. A lot of the times, our job as lawyers is to ask the client the questions, which AI isn't really able to do. It isn't able to have that conversation of asking questions. Because a lot of times, I get a client that just says, "I'd like a distribution contract drafted," and then they get about 21 questions from me, right?
Why is Raymond being a pain? Why is he on the phone
Right?
again? Yeah.
And so, but if you go to AI and say, "I want a distribution agreement" or "I want a sale and purchase agreement," it's going to spit that out to you.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's really the thing. I would say where you are kind of safe-ish is very low risk, very basic agreements or internal guidance notes or internal documents. But really kind of like, even if you're a startup, even if you're a solo startup, relying on those, on what has been generated by AI on its own without any review is quite dangerous.
Okay.
And it might be fine 95% of the time, but that 5% is going to cost you more than those.
Well, the
95.
5% is the 2 million rather than the
Exactly.
2,000 saved,
Exactly.
isn't it? So,
100%.
no, I'm completely with you. What are the big risks that business owners might not be thinking about when they use AI for legal documents then?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few, but they are really big ticket items when it comes to us lawyers. One is, and I've kind of touched on it before, is this kind of the false confidence that you get when you read what it generates, because it reads like legalese, but it sounds good on an episode of Suits, but it's not really very good in the real world.
Looks
right?
good, smells good, but maybe ain't good.
But exactly.
Yeah.
So a contract can be very beautifully written, but it could be legally useless. So that's a huge one. I've often seen AI-generated contracts missing risk allocation, which is a big one when it comes to contracts, because that's a huge one of who is taking risk and what are the allocations for it. I often see a lot of contradiction in the contracts.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And the huge trap, which is really big, generally speaking, but it's especially big for the UAE and for anybody dealing with kind of international clients. We live in a very globalized world, especially in contracts, sale and purchase agreements, even shareholders, etc. Governing law and jurisdiction. The UAE is a very unique country with different emirates. Each one has its own court system. There's emirate law, federal law. We have DIFC. We have ADGM. So getting the governing law correct and getting the jurisdiction clauses correct is a huge one. And the only way to get it right is to really understand the full business deal. Because one of the huge things that you end up getting is it's not trying to prevent a dispute altogether. But if a dispute does arise, what you don't want to do is to spend 6, 12 months or more, plus all the money, arguing over which court has jurisdiction.
Yeah.
You want to just go straight to the merits.
Yeah.
And that's a huge one that AI misses. And there's a few others, such as the regulatory environment, because again, regulation in the UAE is very mixed and matched depending on where you're operating.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the big ones. I'd say the biggest risks aren't that the contract is bad, but it's invisibly bad.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So AI, it's very hard to see how AI can properly account for jurisdiction-specific laws, particularly when it's as intricate in the UAE. For example, regulatory requirements. But if you did decide, well, it's fine for me, it's not a big deal, who's liable if an AI-drafted contract has errors or fails you in some way? I mean, it's buyer beware, isn't it?
It's exactly that phrase. It's buyer beware, because ultimately, if you have signed a contract, you are liable for it. Yeah. Whether it's the best drafted contract or the worst drafted contract, it's yours. You own it once you've signed it. So the parties are bound by it. So the very simple and strict answer is if you've generated a contract through AI, you're effectively going to be liable for it. So if it's poorly drafted or if it's not taking things into consideration and a dispute does arise, you're going to end up battling that out. So if it hasn't taken proper accounting of risk allocation or termination or IP or jurisdiction or governing law, and a dispute does arise, you're going to end up having to argue that out. And you're effectively liable for it. So I mean that's where the phrase that I sort of used in my post the other day was, you're trading 20,000 dirhams today for 2 million dirhams or more down the line.
That's a risk.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a huge one.
So with that in mind, I mean, legal costs can be substantial, so you can understand why business owners want to make savings. You can understand why this is even a discussion today, of course. So, but how do you balance, trying to keep your costs under control with legal protection? Is there? It's a conundrum for sure, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm definitely understanding of the pressures of both speed and costs that businesses have. All businesses, especially those that are sort of in that startup SME space. And I am so totally not completely anti-AI and saying don't ever touch AI. We use AI. I think it's a good thing to use technology, but it's more about how you use it and when you use it. the example that we were speaking of offline earlier was when I was a graduate student. It was around the time that Wikipedia was about 4 or 5 years old, and we were having a very similar discussion about it. About that you should never look at Wikipedia because anybody can edit it, and it's not official source. It's not original source.
Yeah.
But I think we've now, with Wikipedia being sort of about 25 years old, we've come to understand that it's a tool in the toolbox, but it is not the tool. You can review Wikipedia and use it as a starting point, and then you have all the sources that Wikipedia has cited to go to and do some research. So if you're working on a dissertation, for example. And that's kind of what I would say about using an AI function for contract drafting. I would actually recommend this to clients, that if you wanted a contract drafted, a distribution agreement, a sale and purchase agreement, whatever it may be, go to your favorite AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is. Feed it as much of the information about the transaction that you are contemplating. See if it can give you suggestions about the types of things to think about, the who, what, when, where. Make sure that you have those thought out. If you have a simple kind of bullet point of what the transaction is going to look like, feed it into the AI system, and then have it draft that contract for you. But that's not the end of the story. Then take that contract and come to a lawyer like myself and say, this is a transaction that I wanted to do. Here's all the information about it. Here's a contract. Can you review it? That then gives me a much better picture than you just coming to me and saying, Ray, I need a sale and purchase agreement, and I have to ask you all the questions. So that cuts down on your time and on your fees.
Well, see, that's interesting to me, because it strikes me that if you're running a startup and you have legal agreements to put into place, your MEMS and Rs, all the things that you need to do to kind of crystallize the ideas, to get together what you need, to check it with AI, to make sure you're not missing anything, then to go to a legal expert, to go to your lawyer and say, these are the things that I'm pretty sure I'm right about, and I've done my research. Then they come to the expert, you in this case, you draft it and add the things that they will naturally have missed. That seems to be a pretty decent way of doing it, and it strikes me that that's a pretty good way of using AI.
Yeah, it's a really good use of AI because it's also allowing you to do a bit of critical thinking yourself in terms of
Precisely.
Because you have to think about the who, what, when, where, and how much.
Yeah.
Which is sort of halfway of the battle of when you're coming up with a transaction. You get that system going. You have then a very, very basic draft. And when you come to me, you effectively have a much clearer picture in your head as well as a documented one. So that cuts down on the time and the costs that a person like me is going to be charging. So that is a much better use of AI, I think, than either not using it at all or kind of trying to replace your lawyer who has X amount of years and X amount of education with it.
There's another side to that as well, because if I come to you researched and ready, and there you go, this is what I need to do, you haven't got the idiot client that hasn't thought anything through, that you have to follow up with 1,500 times, and it's not a waste of your time.
Well, it's also, I mean, time is money, right? Like you would be wasting your time as an entrepreneur, which time being spent trying to draft a contract or meeting with your lawyer is time that you haven't spent on your business, right? And you've come significantly more informed than having just showed up and said, I'm going to buy shares. What do I do next, right? Because that's going to be time that I'm going to spend and time. But I do think that there has to be this very careful balance. I mean, as my old history teacher used to say, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And I used to always think that having no knowledge is a dangerous thing. But actually, it's having just enough that you think that you know quite a bit, which is very, very dangerous.
That's what the internet's done for us.
Exactly.
Oh, I saw this on Instagram. It must be.
Exactly. So I mean, whether we're playing Dr. Google or we're playing Google Esquire, let's be very careful and do give the credit to those people that have spent time going to med school, going to law school, having spent these years. I mean, it is there. So I mean, it is yet another push in technology, which I think is a positive thing, and it will be a positive use of our time and our resources. Just like how, I mean, when I was first coming up, we were still doing book research to search for case law, and that's become computerized, and it's made things infinitely faster.
Yeah.
This will be another thing, but if lawyers and clients that use AI but use it well will get very far and do well, but those that sort of only rely on it and kind of black out are going to have to unfortunately pay a price.
Okay, so AI is not replacing lawyers right now, certainly not in contract drafting, that's for sure. Few, I think.
It's going to replace certain tasks, but not roles.
But yeah, okay. Remy Kiswani is a partner at Davidson & Co. And that's the fine print for this week, which will also be a podcast released soon from Mira Business FM. Raymond, great to talk to you.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much. This is Mira Business FM. Just after 11 o'clock, news is next.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
Good morning, it's 11 a.m. I'm Sahar Mushtaq, and this is the news on Mira Business FM, and these are the headlines. The UAE and Bahrain have launched a pilot initiative designed to make air travel faster and smoother between the two countries. The single travel point system allows citizens to complete entry procedures before departure. This is expected to reduce waiting times and congestion at arrival airports while supporting tourism and trade, according to Gulf News. The program is being introduced at Zayed International Airport in Abu Dhabi and Bahrain International Airport. It uses digital platforms, biometric verification, and secure data sharing to process passengers in advance. Officials say the system will speed entry, improve identity checks, and strengthen the security. It is also seen as a step towards a wider smart travel network across the Gulf region. His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, first Deputy Ruler of Dubai, Deputy Prime Minister, and the Minister of Finance, has met senior business leaders in Dubai. He held talks with Sir Michael Kaduri, Chairman of the CLP Holdings, and the Hong Kong and Shanghai Hotels Limited. The meeting focused on strengthening global partnerships and expanding quality investment. Sheikh Maktoum reaffirmed the UAE's commitment to an open economic model supported by flexible regulations that encourage sustainable growth. Discussions also highlighted Dubai's tourism strength, backed by strong infrastructure and diverse attractions. The Emirates recorded a historic 19.59 million international visitors in 2025, according to the Emirates news agency WAM. Both sides reviewed opportunities aligned with the Dubai Economic Agenda D33, aimed at reinforcing the city's position as a global center for tourism, investment, and innovation. Some hotels across the UAE are increasing iftar and suhoor prices this Ramadan as demand returns to pre-pandemic levels. Industry executives say bookings are being made way in advance and especially by companies and families. While rates have edged up, hoteliers say offerings have also expanded, including larger buffets, more live stations, and enhanced entertainment and decor, with guests increasingly seeking experience-driven gatherings. Corporate group bookings are rebounding strongly, and demand in the northern Emirates is actually reported to be back at pre-COVID levels, prompting hotels to boost capacity and target higher revenues this season. Gold slipped below the $5,000 an ounce mark in thin trading as Asian markets were closed for the Lunar New Year and the US also observed a holiday. Bullion fell about 1.5% following a 1% drop in the previous session. The gold rally on Friday, driven by modest U.S. inflation data, briefly raised hopes for a Federal Reserve interest rate cut. Spot gold was down 0.5% at $4,967 an ounce as of 10:25 a.m. in Singapore, and silver slipped to 0.4% to about $76 an ounce. Platinum was little changed, and palladium fell just over 1%, according to a report on Bloomberg. That's the news for now. Follow more news on our website, which is mirabusiness.fm.
This is The Morning Drive. It's Mira Business FM. My name's Tim Elliott. Next up, Latin music going global, from the Super Bowl to concerts here in the UAE. What the stratospheric growth in Latin music means for a couple of things: culture-led tourism and also economic growth. That's our topic next at Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
Next on the morning drive this morning, how music is no longer just entertainment. It's a growth engine for economies, for travel, for global cultural influence. Latin artists like Bad Bunny, Peso Pluma, for example, topping music charts across the world in the United States, kind of reflects a broader shift in cultural demand and digital engagement. If you take, for example, Bad Bunny's headline turn at the Super Bowl last week, watched by 130 million, more than that, viewers, sent his song surging across global streaming and music charts pretty much everywhere in the world. Huge interest. So cultural moments like that also drive travel interest. There were millions of flight searches to Puerto Rico and Latin destinations in the days after the Super Bowl. Travel platforms reported spikes of up to something like 245% in interest, and that's really fans looking to experience the places behind the music firsthand as a direct result of the appearance at the Super Bowl. Take this into account as well. This April, Shakira, Latin pop royalty, it would be fair to say, is bringing her world tour to the Off Limits Festival in Abu Dhabi. She's not been here for something like 15 years, and it's a sign that global touring is increasingly tied to destination marketing, to hospitality revenue, and broader tourism flows. So that's the gist of our discussion today, how culture and travel and economic growth are intersecting like never before. We're joined by multimedia journalist Isadora Del Bianco Reis. She's from Brazil. She's freelance. She's based here in the UAE. Isadora, it's lovely to meet you.
It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Very good to have you here. So look, I said to you outside just now that we're kind of putting Latin is just kind of one huge bracket, and I don't quite know how to define it. Maybe it's not something that we should define, but if you speak Spanish and you're from Latin America, you would be Latin. If you're Brazilian, it's fair to say. I know Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese is the mother tongue, if you like, but it comes under the same banner of, Latin, that kind of, is it a mentality? I don't know how to put that across. Help.
Well, I think it's more than a mentality. It's a way of living. It's how people communicate. It's how people express themselves. If we talk about Latin culture nowadays, we are talking about habits, expressions. We are talking about friendly people. We are talking about welcoming people around the world. So, like after living in Europe, for example, I can say that it's totally different the way you are welcomed in a Latin country and in Spain. That is where I
That's
I
where you
lived.
spent your time, didn't you?
Yes.
What, were you 2 years in Spain?
2 years in Spain,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. What was the difference then between, from being welcomed in a Latin fashion to a Spanish European fashion? What's the change?
Well, basically, I think that unfortunately, until today, we have this sense of colonizers and colonized countries, and I think we should break this mentality in a way that after globalization, after the diaspora of so many Latins around the world, we can see that we properly need to change this kind of mindset. But I still think that in Europe is a little bit different the way people treat you and connect to you. For example, we can talk about a simple smile, like people, it's hard for people to smile, it's hard for people to say like, good morning, buenos dias. If we are on the elevator, probably we would say like, good morning for anyone. But if you were in Europe or if you were in other countries, this sounds a little bit awkward. Like, why this person is talking to me? This person is not busy. This kind of sense.
That's such a British thing. If you sit next to somebody on the tube in London, the underground, and they talk to you, my automatic reaction as a typical British person is, I'm sat next to a crazy person. That's kind of so I'm kind of with you. But the Latin thing is not like that. Okay, so that kind of makes it clear. When you compare today's kind of Latin boom, and much of it is a music boom, isn't it? Let's face it. With the the era, I mean, the most recent boom of, Ricky Martin and Jennifer Lopez, and that kind of boom that emanated from the US into maybe, reggaeton in the early 2000s, really. Does this feel bigger from a global business perspective, this kind of emphasis on Bad Bunny and this boom that we're seeing now?
Well, I would say yes.
Okay.
It's much bigger because nowadays we have streaming platforms, we have YouTube, we have Spotify. People are consuming media in a different way, like they are consuming music in a different way. And they have also like the opportunity to share interests. For example, if you go to a Spotify list, you can hear what people are hearing and listening in other countries. So you know basically how the target audience will behavior. And it's even easier to measure this kind of behavior.
Yeah.
If it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it's so much easier. I mean, the thing I think that has really marked a change is crossover success, even just 20 years ago, was generally singing in English. But Bad Bunny is the example in our kind of conversation today. It's Spanish, and it's Spanish first. That was lots of the complaints in the US, that this was a Spanish show. Not that I work out why that was a problem, at halftime in the Super Bowl. How significant do you think that shift is from two aspects, really, culturally, but also economically?
Well, culturally, I think we are talking about the way artists from poor backgrounds faced their realities. So we are not talking about entertainment, pure entertainment. We are talking about how they express the way they live, from where they are from, the habits they have. So probably this is a sense of community and also how people perceive this kind of behavior. So if we talk about, for example, I was actually talking about this before, like this sense of colonized and colonizer countries. We can bring this directly into music. Why? Because speaking Spanish and singing in Spanish and not following a global agenda and having identity is much more important nowadays to have success than trying to fit in what like the mainstreams want you to fit. So
Yeah, okay. Okay, so it's this idea that, I mean, it's not a modern idea in any way, but it's something that we talk about a lot now, that it's just you being you. And it's very relatable. And
Exactly.
it's that word authentic.
And
again.
that's how Latin people around the world connect to their roots. So after like the sense of globalization, the immigration, the diaspora, those people far away from their countries, they are more connected to their roots because they feel represented. They know, this singer is important for me because he lived in the same way I lived before. Or this person this person had to overcome so many challenges to sing what it's like he's singing now.
We all like that, though, don't we? We all like that, that person, oh, she's like me, or, he's like me. That's just relatability.
Exactly.
That works.
Exactly.
And I guess, it stands out particularly in this instance. I mean, we're kind of using this Super Bowl, the Bad Bunny performance as an example, but it stands out for a number of reasons that you can relate to this person. And there's a so-called controversy that he was singing in Spanish at the Super Bowl. We've also got social media as well. So, that you mentioned the streaming platforms there, but the social media aspects of this, that the access to people like you or people like me is that much more available now.
Exactly.
Let's look through the lens of tourism. Do you think we're seeing a more measurable travel impact, a stronger impact compared to the kind of Latin pop explosion in the 90s and the early 2000s?
I could say yes, probably. It's very, very important the way artists express themselves on social media because people nowadays they are searching much more for a lifestyle, for a backstage life than for the concert. So, for example, when we search a place to visit, to travel, we can choose this because of a concert, for example, because of Shakira's concert here in the UAE in April, for example.
Yeah.
But this is much more scalable in other tourism sectors. For example, hotels, restaurants, what people consume, what people buy. So I think it's really, really integrated. Yes.
Okay, how do you interpret the push of Latin music into mainstream global charts, specifically again the Bad Bunny impact, as a sign for cultural and travel trends for this year? How important do you think that Latin music is going to push this forward?
Well, if we talk about Bad Bunny performance, it was in a broader social context. Like we cannot just say, well, it happened this, and we don't observe what's happening around. So we are talking about a very sensitive scenario in the United States. Like we are talking about how immigrants are feeling. We are talking about deportations. We are talking about kind of uncertainty that those people, those Latin people, are living in the U.S. So I think they felt represented. And that's why it was exactly on the right time, we can say. Like people were in need, like they were feeling vulnerable. And this happens exactly.
There's a sense of timing about this that I think is really important. I mean, we've seen a shift in the stance of the US in recent years, in terms of attitude, I guess, towards what's perceived as Latino or Hispanic culture. There's also a shift in terms of US foreign policy terms as well. And I wonder if that contributes to this kind of new dominance, it's almost like a rebellion. In a way, it's like, well, if that's how you feel,
Exactly.
I'm going to emphasize this even more, and I think people relate to that, like a people power kind of situation.
Exactly, that's what we were talking about, feeling represented, about having authenticity to.
Yeah. No, that's so interesting. You work in tourism here in the UAE as a multimedia journalist. You work with hotels. What effects do you see big name events like Shakira coming, for example, first time in 15 years, part of the world tour? How do you see the effect on travel, on hotel occupancy, on visitor spending? How important is an event like this?
Well, I think an event like this is important to show the city as more than a tourism destination, but like with this kind of sense that the UAE, for example, let's talk about Shakira's concert. If we think about the UAE from outside, most of the time we think about Dubai, and people knows Dubai. I'm talking about like Brazil or, for example, Spain. When I used to say that I am living here in the UAE, they asked me Dubai. But UAE is much more than Dubai.
Yeah.
And if we talk about a concert like that in Abu Dhabi, it's to show the city as a tourist destination. Like this concert is expecting around 40,000 people. And I think, of course, like the demand will increase a lot, like for short stay bookings, weekend bookings. Also, like how people consume in restaurants, the transport will be affected as well. So people are searching for the whole experience. They are not searching only for the concert. I mean, this is a huge environment.
Well, this is one of those things. Shakira is one of those artists where, I don't know, this is going to be a destination thing, I feel like. If this is going to be people coming in from the Middle East region, from the Levant region, she's hugely popular. And it's going to bring people, I kind of feel. Do you think that international artists of her kind of level are actively influencing travel decisions and destination choices in ways that maybe we're not used to, that we haven't really seen before? And if you do, how does that change hotel and maybe tourism, the marketing strategies that they use?
Well, we can say that, as we were previously discussing, that these artists are influencing people in the way they behavior, what they eat, what they do, where they are from. So their lifestyle is much more important than just what they sing. So people are searching for that. That's why, for example, now people are searching a lot flights to go to Puerto Rico after the boom of after what happened with Bad Bunny, but they want to experience the whole environment. Like if we're talking about the Latin music, Latin songs, reggaeton, Latin trap, this kind of music, we are talking about an environment. It's not only about the music itself. So we are talking about the Caribbean beaches. We are talking about warm weather. We are talking about relaxed vibes. So this is kind of connected with the music, and people want to experience the whole environment. They don't want to just listen to something, because we can do this at home.
No, I mean, there's something very inviting about that whole kind of environment. I have to say, I sort of went to a wistful place there when you were talking. But I think it's so interesting that there was so much bite back at Bad Bunny's performance. And I watched it, and I thought, I didn't understand much of it. It's maybe not music that traditionally I haven't grown up listening to the style, but I really liked it. I thought it was kind of fun, and it seemed like people really enjoyed it to me.
It's really nice.
So that's going to bring you in if you just take it at the level that maybe it's meant to be taken. Not everything is a statement, I suppose. How much time we got? We've got 2 minutes left. So, which question? What do I want to ask you? I've got 3 or 4 questions here I want to put to you. If you had to quantify it culturally and economically, is this the biggest, for want of a better phrase, Latin music wave that we've seen so far? Do you think this is the most important kind of moment for Latin music, first of all?
For me, yes, because before Latin artists, they were searching for visibility, they were trying to open markets, they were trying to be perceived, and now they are the most important ones. Like there is a structural shift in that way. Like now they don't need to say, excuse me, I need to say, like, I need to sing in Spanish. I don't want to sing in English anymore. No. Like they just go, they sing, they don't expect anyone to tell them what they need to do. So this is culturally and economically very, very significant if we talk about this.
So the door has finally been broken down, is what you're saying, yeah?
Exactly.
They've been kicked the door through.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I tell you something, it's a whole lot better than I remember the Lambada in the late 80s. I don't know if you remember that. We'll talk about it after. It's fine. I still can't listen to that tune. It's been really interesting talking to you. I appreciate it. It's something a little bit different for us here at Mira Business FM as well. Isadora Del Bianco Reis is an Abu Dhabi-based multimedia journalist working often in tourism and hotels in the capital. But thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it.
It's good to have you here. Mira Business FM, this is The Morning Drive. Get in touch. Tell us what you think on social media. Like and or subscribe. And don't forget, everything we do, you can listen and or watch again on the website, on YouTube, and also wherever you get your podcasts from. All you need to do is search Mira Business FM. So The Morning Drive, the news is next.
Mira Business FM. The sound of success.
Good morning, it's 11:30 a.m. I'm Sahar Mushtaq and this is the news on Mira Business FM. These are the headlines. Some hotels across the UAE are increasing iftar and sahur prices this Ramadan, as demand returns to pre-pandemic levels. Industry executives say bookings are being made earlier than in previous years, especially by companies and families. While rates have edged up, hoteliers say that offerings have also expanded, including larger buffets, more live cooking stations, and enhanced entertainment and decor, with guests increasingly seeking experience-driven gatherings. Corporate group bookings are rebounding strongly, and demand in the Northern Emirates is reported to be back at pre-COVID levels, prompting hotels to boost capacity and target higher revenues this season. Gold slipped below the $5,000 an ounce mark in thin trading as Asian markets were closed for the Lunar New Year and the U.S. also observed a holiday. Bullion fell about 1.5% following a 1% drop in the previous session. The gold rally on Friday, driven by modest U.S. inflation data, briefly raised hopes for a Federal Reserve interest rate cut. Spot gold was down 0.5% at $4,967 an ounce, and silver slipped 0.4% to $76.30 an ounce. Platinum changed a bit as well, and a palladium fell just over 1%, according to Bloomberg report. The U.S. dollar held its gains in light trading today. Investors are waiting for signals from the Federal Reserve's meeting minutes and new U.S. GDP figures later this week. Trading was quiet, with some Asian markets closed for the Lunar New Year and U.S. markets shut down for the President's Day holiday. The dollar index stayed steady after a small rise. The euro and pound weakened slightly, while the yen edged higher. Markets expect possible U.S. rate cuts in the coming months after softer inflation data supported the case for easing policy, according to Reuters. And now, quick market and the currency update. Bitcoin today is trading at $68,324 and for those tracking remittances, 1 dirham equals about 24.71 Indian rupees, 76.22 Pakistani rupees, 33.33 Bangladeshi taka, 15.78 Philippine peso, 12.72 Egyptian pound. Meanwhile, 1 British pound is equal to 4.99 dirhams today. That's the news for now. Follow more news on X and WhatsApp. This is Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is The Morning Drive with me, Tim Elliott. Good morning to you. In a few moments' time, we're talking aviation, I guess. Saudi budget carrier Flyer deal has hit 10.7 million passengers, a breakout 2025. We're going to be joined by the CEO, Stephen Greenway, next here at Mira Business FM. This is Mira Business FM. It's the morning drive. Now, Flyadeal is a Saudi Arabian low-cost airline headquartered at King Abdulaziz International Airport in Jeddah. They've now crossed 10 million passengers, 10.7 to be exact, for the first time, expanded routes by more than 60%, added aircraft, opened a new operations control center, and earned the title, and I guess this is something to really boast about. I certainly appreciate it. The world's most punctual airline. Joining us this morning, Stephen Greenway is the CEO of Flyadeal. He wants to, hopefully will join us to talk about what powered the growth, what it means for Saudi Arabia's aviation ambitions, and what comes next. Stephen, it's good to meet you.
Good morning, great to be here.
Appreciate you having you here. Now, Flyadeal crossed the 10.7 million passenger mark. First time in 2025. You're up 33% year on year. Good news, of course. What are the key drivers behind that surge?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think the backdrop is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in terms of the growth. Domestically, we have growth of about 15% in the market year on year for the past 5 years. So the domestic market is booming, and that's because, I mean, literally the Band-Aid has been ripped off, the country has been opened up. So, it's dramatically transforming within, the front of your eyes. The second thing is obviously we're adding capacity. We added 8 aircraft last year. We'll do the same this year and even more next year. So we've got more capacity coming in as well. We're also squeezing more from the orange, as I like to say. So aircraft don't make money when they sit on the ground. So we're actually flying them more, even though we have engine challenges like every other airline at this moment in time with the new generation engines. So we're squeezing more out of our aircraft as well. So it's a combination of things, really.
I want to talk to you a little bit about the fleet in a moment, but passenger demand has grown faster than seat capacity. Good problem to have, I guess. How do you manage that growth while you maintain reliability, you've already pointed to, but also cost discipline?
Yeah, so I think two things. When I joined, which was about 2.5 years ago, the first thing I wanted to do was make sure that our operation was stable. It didn't matter if we were growing 33% or 2%. I wanted to make sure that we're on time and we didn't cancel. They were the two things that I wanted my team to execute. Within that, over the past 2 years, we have been globally the world number one. Doesn't matter LCC or full service carrier, globally number one. And for the past 12 months of last year, we're actually number one within the Middle East. And so we wanted to do that because we thought that the proposition would be you're on time, you're reliable, and the fare is cheap. And those combined is a really, really good selling brand, I suppose, or whatever you wish to call it. But and that's really worked for us, and that is attracting people to us because they know what the, dare I say, the bargain or the proposition is. That is, I don't have to pay too much, but I know these guys are going to go on time. It's like clockwork. It's like a Japanese train. And so from that perspective, that's what the proposition is at the heart of what we were trying to do to get the airline. So obviously, safety is a cornerstone, but to grow as much as we are, you have to have your eye on the ball in terms of your operation and making sure that everything is streamlined as best you possibly can. But the other thing is also, as we grow, the great thing is you're getting economies of scale. So it's combined with obviously flying more and also flying longer distances. You're starting to see what we call our unit cost starting to come down. Then we can pass that saving on to the consumer as well, generate more business for us. And don't forget, the LCC premise is not about stealing market share from another airline. It's about generating a new market or new customer segments that didn't exist before. You're bringing down the price level to a point where more people can travel more frequently.
More and more people coming to the region, setting up in Riyadh, setting up in Dubai. So 66% more routes compared with 2024 for you guys. What does that say about demand for low-cost travel to and from Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, so we'll take domestic because don't forget, the UAE doesn't have a domestic market. Bahrain doesn't have a domestic market. Qatar doesn't have a domestic market. We do. We have 35 million people in the kingdom, quite a large country to get across, and you really don't have too many choices. You, of course, can drive a car. There are some train connections like Medina, Jeddah, but that's limited as well. So if you want to get around the countryside effectively and efficiently, you've really only got one choice, which is flying. It's the same as where I come from in Australia. You've really only got one choice, which is flying. You want to go between Brisbane, Sydney, or Sydney, Melbourne. So you've got that a domestic demand that is there. You then have and that continues to grow. So Jeddah, Riyadh, we're actually number 4 in the world's busiest route in the world. Okay. And I reckon that will probably be number 1 in the next 2 years. We have alone 25 flights a day each way on that route, and so do our competitors. So you've got about 75, 80 flights a day just on that route alone. So that's how busy things are, and I don't think people appreciate that. The other thing is that
I didn't realise.
Yeah, we weren't even in the top 10 only a couple of years ago. So that's how quickly things are moving along. The second thing is, which is something we touched on just before this session, was literally the Band-Aid has been ripped off, and we're seeing a lot of traffic come in to the kingdom, and particularly Riyadh and booming and so forth. And that's business traffic, it's religious traffic, it's labour traffic. People coming in who would clean streets or even be doctors or whatever the case may be. So we've got a lot of combination. But the fact is, particularly if you just take religious, 2 billion Muslims around the world, and here we are at the epicenter of the religion. So you've got a huge amount of traffic coming in just off the back of that alone.
Yeah, absolutely right. That's an interesting. I'll come back to that as well.
Sure.
Your network now spans what? The Middle East. You span Europe, North Africa, South Asia. How strategic is South Asia to longer term growth?
Huge, but predominantly it's two customer segments. That is the religious piece, which I spoke of, particularly Umrah and Hajj, and the second thing is then the labour traffic that comes in that supports the growth of the kingdom itself.
Yeah. So double the number of Hajj and Umrah pilgrims. 220,000? Am I right? Are those the right figures?
That's right.
So very, very important to you.
And I think Hajj is only for a short period of time, and it's actually quite complex. It's a military operation to get everything working, I tell you. But it's Umrah that we're really interested in. I mean, obviously both are important, but Umrah is all year round, and it's unrestricted. Hajj is quite restricted. Visas are very constrained, obviously, because it's a short period of time. They've got to control the numbers. You have to go through a tour operator, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very, let's say, regimented. Umrah is effectively now a holiday visa, which it wasn't only a couple of years ago. And I don't think people understand that previously, again, it was quite regimented. You could only come into the kingdom for 3 days. You'd only come into Jeddah, et cetera, et cetera. You'd do your thing and you had to leave. Now, it's effectively a holiday visa. You can come in, you can do your pilgrimage, but then you can see the rest of the country. You can tour around. And I think that's what, we talk about a lot of tourism stimulation, a lot of international growth. I think that's where a lot of the international tourism growth will come from, at least initially, because the market already exists and we're just now giving them freedom to look around the country and explore the country.
On-time performance averaged close to 90% in 2025?
Yeah, above, I think it was about 91, 92 if I mean.
Okay, so the airline ranked the world's most punctual, certainly last June. How is punctuality built into a low-cost model at scale? How does it work?
I think a couple of things. I think, look, at one side, you're always trying to fly as much as you possibly can, so your schedule is tight by definition.
Right.
But what we do is we do have buffers throughout the day to make sure that we can reset the operation if we find ourselves falling behind. So that's number one. Number two is just maintain your aircraft. I know that sounds stupid, but you're making sure that you have as fewer defects on the aircraft as absolutely possible. So you're flying an aircraft that we call clean, and you don't have these defects building up over time and so forth. So you have good technical dispatch reliability. And the other thing is we build our schedule around our crew. As opposed to the market. So we make sure that we maximise our schedule around our crew. A good example of that is we're not swapping crew from one plane to another as they progress throughout the day. They stay with the plane, as an example. So there's little things like that aren't particularly sexy, dare I say, that we do just in the background, just to make sure that we're running as smooth as possible. And then you mentioned it before, we opened up a brand new operations control centre, 5 times the size of what we previously had, completely digitalised, and that allows us to provide a sort of a global oversight of what is going on, on a 24/7 basis.
So that's been critical as well, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's all these little pieces that just sort of come together to enable us to get to to get the performance that we spoke of.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about cabin crew. With you. A regional first, I've read you're training Saudi cabin crew as accredited tour guides as well.
Yeah.
What gap does an innovation like that address?
It's more. Obviously, Saudis are. One thing I've learned when I've been on the ground is the Saudis are very proud of their country.
For sure.
And they want to. Just as importantly, they wish to share their country with people. They wish to change the narrative and give people a different perception about what Saudi Arabia is and what it stands for. And so the natural flow for that was Saudi Tourism, the authority in the kingdom. We partnered with them and said, let's train some of our Saudi crew to be able to provide tours or be tour guides and be able to give our customers feedback on certain sites like Alula around the country and what they should do, you know, the top 10 things. I've been on the ground, this is what I did, this is what I saw, etc., etc. So it's just giving that extra dimension of welcome to the kingdom, particularly on our international flights. And they love it. They absolutely love it.
I bet. I mean, one of the things about low-cost airlines, I suppose, is it's almost more important than your big international, big regional carriers. That there's no substitute for that kind of local knowledge, is there?
No, and so, but we still have a very international crew. 50% are overseas crew. You know, they come from places like Indonesia, Thailand, anything. But we do have a big contingent of Saudi national crew,
Right.
And they do extra special things. And on National Day, we paint our aircraft green, and they've got the national anthem going, and they dress up in national costume. They're very proud people, and we don't want to. You know, we want to be able to give them that freedom, that license to be able to express that. So it's very important to us.
Headcount's over 1,800
Yep.
employees. I hope I'm getting my figures right here. So far, we're okay. You've got the Saudi Cadet Pilot Program.
Yes.
You're targeting, what, 150 pilots?
150. We've pushed through 100 last year. So that cadetship program is someone who has a commercial license, but they need to, what we call, get type rated. So type rating is getting trained on the aircraft that we fly, which is the Airbus A320 and 321. Right. So what we do with the Ministry of Education is we have a partnership with them, and we take the license holders, the cadets, we take them to Spain, and we put them there for 3 to 4 months, and they train up on the aircraft equipment type. They then come back as a first officer, junior first officer with us, and fly the line.
How central is that to the growth, the development for you? How do you view that?
Well, it's a couple of dimensions. Number one, you have in the background Saudiization, you know, in terms of having more Saudis within the employment ranks of the company. So all of our first officers are Saudi as of last year. So that number one. Number two is you often hear about pilot shortages within airlines and so forth. And what we've done, particularly through this program, is have a deep pool of first officers that we can call on throughout the year to supply our growth. So this cadet program is feeding our growth. And as you said, it's 150. We've put through 50 this year. We'll put, I would say, up 100 this year. Our target is to get 100 over the line by the end of the year. But it's having that deep pool of local resources that really, really helps us and feeds that growth.
And you've got to move at pace, haven't you? You've
Yeah,
got
we
to
have.
keep up with the way, the direction the kingdom's heading as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a quick math for you. We need 5 crew sets per aircraft just to operate. So you have 5 sets of 2 pilots, so 5 captains, 5 first officers, and then you have 5 sets of 4 cabin crew that we need just to keep that going. And then you multiply it by the number of aircraft. You can do the math pretty quickly. So we're talking
Well,
quite...
you can. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I can, Steve.
wait, not at this time of the morning. But the math, when we talk about we're going to 100 aircraft, and then you just sort of see this exponentially growing. So staying on top of that, absolutely. But when you talk about 2030 and so forth, obviously we're one of the growth engines, we're one of the enablers of the 2030 program, and that's the criticality of our mission.
You've joined IATA, you signed with Amadeus, you partnered with Alpha Sam for loyalty. I
Yes.
know you have a background in loyalty as well. How do these moves change how customers interact with the airline?
I'll give you one example. So Alpha, I love loyalty. If I retire, I think I'll become a loyalty professor or something. I like to scam loyalty programs at the best of times. But no, loyalty. If I just give Alpha Sun one example, we only launched it in June last year. We have carried 30,000 redemptions. So people who have got Alpha Sun points and want to redeem, and they have now the choice to redeem on us. So that's 30,000 customers filling our planes that wouldn't have flown with us before because we didn't accept Alpha Sun points. And Alpha Sun points is effectively a pseudo currency. So, just that little experiment alone, forget about the earn part, just the redemption part, that's an extra 30,000 customers on our flights we never had. So it's changing travel behaviours because previously they had the choice only to fly on Saudi or some selected partners. Now they have the choice to fly on us at any time they wish to, and they're voting with numbers.
I've got to get better with loyalty, obviously.
You
I
have.
am rubbish with it. I always forget. I never got the card, the app doesn't work, whatever
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
What is it about loyalty? This is a complete aside, but
Sure.
what is it about loyalty you're so... Because you're very enthusiastic about it.
It's consumer behaviour. And it's interesting how credit card spend. Where are they spending? What are they doing? Why? What is the motivating force and so forth? And it's getting that consumer base and dare I say, not trapping them, but containing them and being able to get them to be loyal. I mean, again, it's much easier to have a loyal customer and repeat purchase and having to sell to you in the cold, cold hard light of day.
Sure.
And so from that, it's that consumer behaviour that I absolutely love in terms of what they're doing and how they're doing, and actually having a program that is meaningful. And again, I always look at it as not points, but I look at it as a pseudo currency. You're developing a pseudo currency that people have in their back pocket, and don't forget they're interacting with you frequently, multiple times through the day, filling your car with fuel, buying the groceries through the credit card, etc., etc. All of that tie-in. Yep. It's phenomenal. You don't get that interaction with a lot of other activities. And the other thing is, don't forget, particularly for airlines, it's aspirational. People don't want to pay for their fuel with points or whatever. They want to save their points for that holiday, that one holiday a year with the family, and do something really aspirational as well. So that's where the attractiveness is for an airline, because obviously we're an enabler of that travel.
I've got to try harder, obviously.
You have.
I'm also interested in your view on competition. The region's kind of low-cost carrier sector's seen a pretty significant shift, I think, in recent years. Even with Wizz Air exiting Abu Dhabi, there are plenty of carriers. Everybody's expanding routes, integrating tech to make sure that we have a better experience. I think that's fair to say. It must be an exciting challenge, would be a comment.
I think, look, number one, LCC penetration in the Middle East is actually quite low compared to, say, Europe. Europe, it's above 50%. Here, it's about 20-25%. There's not that many LCCs, actually, in this part of the world. We've got great full-service carriers, but we have selective, really good low-cost carriers. Air Arabia is an example. But we've had people come in, or airlines come in, as you said, Wizz, and they've departed quickly because it's difficult. It's a difficult operating environment here. Look, the first basis of any airline, any person who's been in an airline for 30 years, as sad as I am, is competition is a given. Competition continues always to get more intense, and you deal with it. Our competitors are Emirates. Our competitors are full-service carriers. Our competitors are low-cost carriers. Our competitors, in some case like Medina, are trains or cars. And what you're trying to do is position yourself with a proposition that is meaningful. And as I said before, for us, it's on time, we don't cancel, and we're affordable. And that's quite a strong proposition when we're pitching to the consumer. And the numbers show it.
Strong proposition is the word. If you can get that right, if you can be on time as a low-cost carrier,
that's the thing.
That's a huge.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's almost an aspirational thing.
Well, we see it. Our Net Promoter Score. When we get bad weather through the kingdom that it comes through, we can see our Net Promoter Score, our NPS, in terms of how people are engaged with our company. We can see it ditch. Those immediately just on that particular day, and then it just restores itself the next day when things come back to normal again. Because that's how important it is in terms of the proposition. Not interested in flat beds and three-course meals or anything like that. That what they have bargained for or bought is an on-time, cheap airfare that gets them from A to B.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Expansion. You've spoken about a fleet size of 100 by 2030, which is tripling within, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Medina, I think you've announced as a fourth base.
Yes.
There's a wide-body order now placed. What does the next phase of growth look like to you?
World domination.
Excellent.
Yeah, no. So we have been intrinsically a domestic carrier up until now. We only have about 25% of our capacity on international routes, so 75% is domestic. It's a combination of things. Obviously, we'll continue growing domestically. We spoke about how dynamic it is. Regionally, we still have some white spots. We don't fly to Bahrain. We don't fly to Doha, as an example. So we need to fill those in. The other thing which is really exciting to me is, when I came on board 2 years ago, I never dreamed that I'd be able to fly to Syria or Iraq, and we're doing that. We have double daily to Baghdad, as an example. We're flying to Damascus, and we hope to open Aleppo in the next couple of months. So, it's just part of the dynamism of this region that, markets that were originally closed are now open to us. So that's exciting. A little bit further afield is our medium haul strategy, which is really punching into Pakistan. So we have 5 destinations in Pakistan we've launched. We've been operating there for a year very successfully. And there in India is on our target this year as well, once we have more aircraft deliveries. Then further stretching afield, you mentioned Southeast Asia. We're already operating with what we call wet lease aircraft. That is, we've taken aircraft with crew from another airline, and we're operating that. They're operating on our behalf. So we fly down to Indonesia, Malaysia, Bangladesh, et cetera, et cetera. And we're doing that to test those markets out because, as you noted, we've got wide-body aircraft coming in, our own A330neo wide-body aircraft next year. And we're testing those markets out. And they've been very, very successful and profitable. And we know that with our own aircraft, one, the unit cost is much lower, we're far more efficient and effective, and we can carry cargo and other such things. So it just gives us more flexibility. We're now familiar with those markets, and we're ready for our own aircraft and operating our own aircraft in the next year.
It's an exciting future. A final question for you, Stephen. What a difference is Saudi in your sector in recent years? You, I'm sure, would point to a great year last year. The Vision 2030 aimed to develop the aviation sector to match kind of Western Europe, to match North America. There's the Riyadh Air story as well. It's easy to visit Saudi now. Tourism numbers are up. An exciting time. How do you keep up? There's so much.
I have a green tea in the morning and try to breathe.
Is that what it is?
I think, look, as I said to people, and you were talking about your own visits many years ago and so forth, I say to people, just come and see. Just come and see for yourself. I mean, I was full of premonitions or stereotypical views when I first started, and when I was on the ground, I went, this is nothing like what I expected. And and I'm not saying it because I'm on your show or what have you. I truly love being there. I truly love being part of that regeneration of the country or transformation of the country. We talk about 2030 and so forth, and people talk about the big ticket items like NEOM and so forth. But if you scratch the surface underneath that, it's about home ownership, it's about longevity, it's about female participation in the workforce. You have an incredibly young population as well, incredibly dynamic and proud people. And it's just fun. I mean, you very rarely ever get to be part of such societal change. And we're one of the key drivers, as far as I'm concerned. We're one of the key enablers. So being part of that and wrapping that all up, I mean, it's great. But you're right. It's like, drinking from a fire hose sometimes. There's just so much change. But to me, it's positive change. And if we can contribute to that in our own way, which I believe we are, it's great fun. It's a great honour to be able to do that.
Stephen Greenaway is the CEO of Flyer Deal. I've really appreciated your time this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. This is Mira Business FM.
Good afternoon. It's 12 p.m. I'm Sahar Mushtaq, and this is the news on Mira Business FM. These are the headlines. The UAE and Bahrain have launched a pilot initiative designed to make air travel faster and smoother between the two countries. The single travel point system allows citizens to complete entry procedures before departure. This is expected to reduce waiting times and congestion at arrival airports while supporting tourism and trade, says Gulf News. The program is being introduced at Zayed International Airport in Abu Dhabi and Bahrain International Airport. It will be using digital platforms, biometric verification, and secure data sharing to process passengers in advance. Officials say the system will speed entry, improve identity checks, and strengthen security. It is also seen as a step towards a wider smart travel network across the Gulf region. His Highness Sheikh Maktoum bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the first deputy ruler of Dubai, deputy prime minister, and minister of finance, has met senior business leaders in Dubai. He held talks with Sir Michael Karduri, chairman of CLP Holdings and the Hong Kong and Shanghai Hotels Limited. The meeting focused on strengthening global partnerships and expanding quality investment. Sheikh Maktoum reaffirmed the UAE's commitment to an open economic model supported by flexible regulations that encourage the sustainable growth. Discussions also highlighted Dubai's tourism strength, backed by strong infrastructure and diverse attractions. The Emirates recorded a historic 19.59 million international visitors in 2025, according to Emirates news agency WAM. Both sides reviewed the opportunities aligned with the Dubai Economic Agenda D33, aimed at reinforcing the city's position as a global center for tourism, investment, and innovation. Some hotels across the UAE are increasing iftar and sahur prices this Ramadan as demand returns to pre-pandemic levels. Industry executives say bookings are being made earlier than in previous years, especially by companies and families. While rates have edged up, hoteliers say that they're offering expanded services, including larger buffets, more live cooking stations, and enhanced entertainment and decor, with guests increasingly seeking experience-driven gatherings. Corporate group bookings are rebounding strongly, and demand in the Northern Emirates is reported to be back at the pre-COVID levels, prompting hotels to boost capacity and target higher revenues this season. Gold slipped below the $5,000 an ounce mark in thin trading as Asian markets were closed for the Lunar New Year and the US observed a holiday as well. Bullion fell about 1.5% following a 1% drop in the previous session. The gold rally on Friday, driven by modest US inflation data, briefly raised hopes for a Federal Reserve interest rate cut. Spot gold was down 0.5% at $4,967 an ounce as of 10:25 a.m. in Singapore. Silver slipped 0.4% to $76.30 an ounce. Platinum was also seen changed a bit, and palladium fell just over 1%, according to a report on Bloomberg. The US dollar held its gains in light trading today. Investors are waiting for signals from the Federal Reserve's meeting minutes and new US GDP figures later this week. Trading was quiet, with some Asian markets closed for the Lunar New Year and US markets shut for the President's Day holiday. The dollar index stayed steady after a small rise. The euro and pound weakened slightly while the yen edged higher. Markets expect possible U.S. rate cuts in the coming months after softer inflation data supported the case for easing policy, according to Reuters. That's the news for now. Follow more news on our website, mirabusiness.fm.
Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Majlis with myself, Sahar Mushtaq, on Mira Business FM, where conversations connect and ideas come alive right at midday. Before we dive into today's discussion, don't forget that you can catch us live on Mira Business FM, streaming now on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and of course, Telegram. Our podcast is also available on all your favorite platforms, anytime, anywhere. And joining me in the studio is Caroline Baumgartner again, who is the AI strategy consultant. And previously, Caroline shared amazing insights on AI and leadership. But today, we'll pivot slightly to focus on a different but equally important area: how professionals can navigate change, overcome setbacks, and rebuild confidence in their careers. Welcome to the show, Caroline. We're so happy to have you again with us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So, Caroline, you know what? We all love celebrating success and the wins, and we talk about it all the time. But today, we would like to talk about it differently. So, why do you think failure isn't really talked about enough in the business world?
Because it doesn't feel good, right?
It doesn't, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think we are connecting our identity to failure and success, and it's been part of our society for so long. And I think there was just no culture of iteration, right? So we have not been taught to celebrate failure or to see it as part of the journey. We were celebrating our certificates, right? It's all about achievements, but we were never, ever creating the transparency of what it takes to get there. And it just makes it uncomfortable. And I think we have a huge problem right now in people connecting their identity to the outcome and not to the journey. And I think that makes it so hard. And so that's why it's barely been talked about. I think we're getting there slowly. I think we are more and more talking about losing the fear of failure, not seeing it as failure. Maybe we just need to find another name for it.
All right, so it actually isn't a taboo as we talk about it.
Not anymore as it used to be in the past. I think especially because the startup scene is picking up, A lot of people are starting their own businesses. I think the problem that still exists is definitely the connection of your identity to the outcome. That's definitely still a problem, but I think we're addressing it more and more, that failure is just part of the journey. It's not really failure, it's you have to try, right? And you don't want to regret at some point not even trying. And I think because we have put so much focus on titles and achievements, we have forgotten to see and to celebrate people who push what they believe in. Because it's also very comfortable to stay in a title once you have a certain title and just stay there and not push for anything anymore. But I think we need to reshape that view, right? And say, okay, how can we put more value and celebrate the people who are actually fighting for what they believe in? And for that, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of like reiterating and seeing what works, what doesn't work. It's not failure. It's just you have to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
Is that failure? Not really, right?
And I think you've said it so well that, unless you don't try, you don't experiment, you don't know.
100%.
Exactly. So you have to take that very first step to start somewhere. And then failure is always something that should be not ignored, but at the same time, not something that we should celebrate, but we should know in our mind that something somewhere can go wrong.
100%. I think if you change your view on things, like for me, a title was never important. When I started working somewhere or went somewhere, it was never important for me to get a certain title. And maybe people interpret it as something like you're not ambitious enough or not pushing enough. But I always say we're in a matrix, right? And you need to decide where can you bring value. Certain people don't even want to go higher because what comes with the politics or whatsoever, or they don't want to manage teams. They're good in something else. They're good at being an expert and they want to go more to the depth, right? And I think
that only makes you get stuck.
Exactly.
At your career
because
level.
you kind of follow an expectation or what we think in society makes you successful. And there's a lot of pressure on people, right? And I think more even on men than on women is to how am I being accepted in a society? And I think we put a lot of like effort into showing and how other people perceive us, right? Where I'm like, isn't it more important that you go out there to do what you're supposed to do and to push what you enjoy and what you're good at and make an impact, right? For me, I respect people way more who go out there and they fight for what they believe in and they fight for something. You have a lot of people with a good title, but they're not fighting for anything. Why are we giving them more respect than people who are actually going out there and trying to push boundaries? And maybe what we see as failure over and over again, I think that deserves even more respect than
It does.
the title or what we see now in the
Because every
startup
time
scene.
you fail, you kind of like stand stronger.
Yes, 100%,
For sure.
right? And it's not easy. It takes a lot of a strong personality
Courage
to
as
push
well.
through that and to pick yourself up again and not stop believing in yourself and your abilities. Like, I lost my startup, right? So, due to co-founder issues. And where it showed when your ego is connected so much to the product that you're building and control and the identity of a person is connected to control, that you can lose everything when you could have been successful. It's like in a marriage, right? You don't want to use the child to solve the issues or get control of the other person during a divorce or something, right? I think the same applies in anything in business and so on. And unfortunately, a lot of people use
So would you
control
say
and
it's
ego.
having the right kind of balance that plays the role here?
Yes, 100%. I mean, we all have
Okay.
ego and issues. It's not like that, but I think awareness helps, right? When you're in a situation like that and you lose everything, I think it reshapes, it helps to identify what was it that made me me, right? Is it actually the output I'm creating or is it something else, right? And I think we really define ourselves about what we're seeing, what's the output, how do other people perceive me,
Right.
and not what do I stand for, what are my values, what am I fighting for? If people would meet me, what would they remember about me?
Am I
That's
leaving
you.
an impact in the community with what I'm doing?
Exactly. So I think if you reverse that and you're like, instead of making everything external, my personality, and you connect more to yourself and to what impact do I want to make, right? I always say be a VIP in terms of like values, impact, and patterns of behavior. That is what you're supposed to be. Everything else, what you create during your lifetime, are just products, right? It's something.
Be
It's
a
not the end.
VIP. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And now moving on, when, things don't go as planned, it does happen all the time, no matter if it's a project, it's a new role, a new job, a company that you have made together with a partner or by yourself, things do go wrong at times. So what's usually the first emotional or practical hurdle people face when it comes to that?
I think you feel like you're losing a part of your identity, right? Because usually when you build a business, you're doing something, you emotionally connect to it. I think it's a normal thing. We all do it. I did it. And I think if you go into something like this and from the start you're saying this is just something I'm touching, it's just something I'm bringing my energy to, but it is not reflecting who I am. It's just something that I'm trying and I'm giving 100% to. I think this helps a lot. But if it happens anyway, it's just a matter of, I think, give yourself some time to grieve, right? And I gave myself that time. It's like, but have someone who holds you accountable.
So it's very important to let it out of your system?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
But give yourself a time frame. Like, I'm always like, especially if we have too much time with our head, we get into this, like, we feel like a victim, and then your head is, starting, you're getting caught up in your thoughts. So I usually tell a friend of mine, okay, give me a week, and after a week, you're allowed to kick me. Then I need to move. And it's always good to have a routine, like continue doing sports, but give yourself some time to grieve. It's important not to like push it away. I gave myself that time, and I was like, okay, I gave myself a deadline.
So
And then we're
talk
gonna
it out
start.
is also...
Talk it out.
Yeah.
Talk to people about it. You need to get it out, and it's okay. You're allowed to feel like a victim, right? For some time, but then what can you do? You need to get back up, right? And bring whatever you've learned through this experience to others. And what I also feel like helps a lot is if you don't know what to do right now, help others. Go out and help. There are enough people who need help, your friends, business partners, whatsoever. Just contribute to something because it gives you value. You feel valuable. You feel like you're contributing to something. You're helping other people. And maybe through helping, you're seeing new opportunities, right?
Indeed, yeah. So it's just part of the process. Sometimes this is what we need to, as well, realize that failure comes and goes.
It does. And it's not,
does.
I think maybe we need to find another word for it. Maybe it's not failure. It's just like you're trying something. It's like an experiment. And either it works out or it doesn't work out. If it doesn't work out, it's just rerouting you to a new path, right? Not everything can go right all the time. That would be very weird if that happens in your life. I would say you always take the safe road and you probably never challenge something.
True.
Right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So that would be more
So
scary.
unless a hurdle really comes your way,
Yes,
you would know. Otherwise, if, it's all greens and roses,
exactly.
then where are you learning, right? And where are you growing? So now moving on, once someone hits that low point, moving to that. So the next challenge is getting back on their feet. So how do people begin rebuilding confidence or identity after a professional setback?
I think identity doesn't come from what you're building. Identity comes from who you are as a person. What are your values, right? I would always say, what's your North Star? And I think a lot of people are failing to address that. When I work with the students, usually the first thing is when they go into the market and prepare them is, what do you stand for? What's your North Star? What's your life mission and vision? And that's when no one usually has an answer because no one is challenging that, right? We come up with a 5-year plan, but it's not your life mission. I think define that. Maybe it was a wake-up call. Maybe you were running in a direction that you were not supposed to be on because it was not your flow and something was redirecting you, right? So maybe it's the time to sit down and say, okay, what are the life achievements? Like when I'm 80 years old and I want to look back at my life, which stories do I want to be able to tell? And I always said to myself, like, I want to have the craziest stories to tell. No matter if it was stupid, if it was a failure, whatever, but I want to have no regrets. I never want to look back and say, oh my God, I should have done that. I don't care if I look stupid
Because
to
life
other
is
people.
short. We need to take our chances.
Exactly. And I don't care what
And this is the moment to start somewhere.
100%. I
sure.
think too many people are afraid of what other people think about you, but I'm like, people are busy. They don't even think about you, right? And they will think something anyway. So,
True. And you can't really make everyone happy.
no, if you do, you're doing something
Exactly.
wrong.
Exactly.
Tell me the secret.
And sometimes when you have that kind of pressure, let's use parents an example.
Yeah.
So sometimes when they see their children growing up, they have the ideas of, them being doctors or engineers or pilots. But I think that's kind of like sometimes the approach which doesn't really help in the success, playing this part of success in your child's role.
No,
part.
but I think there are two factors to it. First of all, it's a cultural thing, right? And in the past, there were just a certain kind of jobs out there. Now the whole market is changing, but it's also, I think, for the older generation, hard to grasp, right? And how fast it is now. Most of them are retirement now. So for them to understand that there are high-paid jobs out there, they look completely different. They don't understand. It's just a lack of transparency, right? And I think also as parents, you don't want your children to suffer. So you want them to go the safest way. I think it's just, it's like we don't want children to see, and I mean, I'm not a mother yet, but, I think that's the protection thing. You want them to be standing on their own feet. You don't want them to suffer. And I think these two things come together, but then you as a child or as a person need to learn to just push these boundaries, right? And say, okay, this is my path. I believe in it. But I think if you don't even know where you're going, you can never, ever even convince your parents that you're doing the right thing. If you know where you're going, if you know what your life mission is, and you're like, this is my path, these are my values, right? These are the things I'm great at, I want to make an impact in. I think then people get that energy and they believe in you, right? And they trust your decision making. But if you go with no plan, left and right,
no self-awareness.
of course parents are
whatsoever.
getting scared,
Yeah.
right?
Of course.
I think it's an energy transfer, right? And that's why I think the first thing is always sit down and map out your life mission. What do you stand for? Where do you want to make an impact? What do you want to fight for? If you go out, you talk to people, what will they remember when they had a conversation with you? Will they remember what you're fighting for and that they know where to support you, right?
And I think back in the days, there weren't even like as many research tools as we have now.
No.
And of course, parents are not used to, of course, us chatting
No.
to even like, the AIs.
Yeah.
They might find it weird and risky at times, but that's the new thing in the new age.
And it's overwhelming, I get
It
that.
is.
I think that sometimes you need to cut out the noise and take a step back. Yeah.
Right. And now moving on, it's easy to mix up what we do with who we are. But do you think we sometimes attach too much of our self-worth to our job titles or ventures?
Yes, 100%. I don't believe in titles. And I think actually a lot of the startups and companies are going away from that, right? They're going away from titles. I think you cannot blame people because it's the past, right? The title was who you were in a society and how people saw you. I think now there's kind of a rebellion going on where that's not the case anymore. People are looking more in your value and the skills you're bringing to the table. And I think that's very important. Because if you constantly connect your value on your perception of yourself and give so much ownership to other people and to a title, that can be easily removed. I always say, if you have a price and someone can buy you for a certain amount of money, you're a slave, right? If you're connected to money, title, and so on, you're lost already. Because someone can take that away. You can be fired tomorrow. What happens then? Can you still go out and be happy? Someone can take your money away. You can lose money from one day to the next, right?
Of course.
Are you still able to go out there? Yes, because it's like, what do you stand for? What are your skills? These are all things, values, etc., that no one can take away from you. Your skill set, what you bring to the table. So I think we need to redirect that a lot and just like, okay, everything else is just an outcome. But I have met people who are not CEOs or general managers, and they bring way more value to the table than certain CEOs just because of it. So,
Goes hand in hand. And also, what role does the self-compassion play here?
I think a lot. I think we all, I think especially as women, we're very, very hard on ourselves if it comes to self-criticism. We are the masters of it. I mean, but everyone is dealing with it, right? And I think if you want to evolve and you want to grow, you need to learn to forgive yourself, right? You're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna hurt people by accident, hopefully, and not the intention always matters, right? So you're gonna have to forgive yourself making mistakes along the way, because if you want to grow, you always have to re-enter new territory, right? Where you learn to navigate and you don't know yet how to navigate there. And you're gonna make mistakes, right? And certain people will be triggered by that. And it's a hard thing. Like, I had to spend many years on that. I gave myself the hardest time when I was making mistakes. And I think it's just a matter of sitting with yourself and just being like, okay, it's fine. Like, if I can forgive other people for a mistake, I can forgive myself.
So was it harder initially, but now you've come to terms with it over time?
It's ups and downs.
Okay.
I think you
So
have
it's
days where
never
it's better.
easy.
No, it's never.
Okay.
It's never. I think if you're a person who cares about the impact that you have on others, the harder it is to have self-compassion, right? And I think there are days where it's better and then days where I'm harder on myself. But I know it. I think the awareness helps.
As long as you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And sometimes a setback means that it's time to reinvent yourself as well. Have you
100%.
ever seen your certain failure make you reinvent something that you never even imagined of?
Yes, 100%. I mean, the situation I'm in right now, right? I had to walk away from a very, very bad situation and losing an entire company that I've built with my own hands. And I think it helped that I built my identity apart from that over the last years. I think otherwise it would have been worse. But to see how many people are also there to support you when you're there, and you have created the right relationships and put effort into good relationships, and to again have the ability to be inspired again. Yes, I grieved through it, and it still sucks and it still hurts. But I think I also saw the opportunity now to say, okay, but I can also sit down now and realign, like, what worked for me before, what didn't, because I know my North Star, I know where I want to go. What part of that was for me, what wasn't, what can I let go, and where can I rebuild? And now I have the opportunity to start from a blank page, right? And you can either see the glass half full or half empty, like, how many times in life do you have the opportunity to start from a blank page? It's not ideal, it's a lot of work, and it sucks and it hurts, but it's also an immense opportunity, right? And you can go, and I think I went out there and saw, how can I help others? Have a lot of conversations with people, get inspired, where do people need help, where I can bring in my value, yes, and then new things will come out of that.
So it only always inspires you to head to your new journey and makes you a better person, I guess.
I think sometimes things need to burn down.
Or a better professional, I would say.
Yeah, 100%. I think sometimes, good things can come out of ash. So,
Well said. And now, what are small, practical steps listeners can take to stay resilient in uncertain times? Because, like, trends change all the time.
yeah.
Markets are always up and down. So how is it that they can feel safe in a way, trying new things?
I think the North Star is one, because I say it with everything, and I think everyone says that even now when you go into building a startup or business is, what's your why? And your North Star of your life is your why. Why are you doing things? With everything in life that you're doing, do you know what you're going to say yes or no to? Because this is why so many people have issues in taking decisions, because they don't know their why in life, right? So if you know your why, it will be easy for you to say yes or no to opportunities or decisions, right? Because you know it's going to feed into my goals or not. It's part of my value system or not, right? And I think that will be your fuel, because no matter how many times someone's going to knock you down.
So we're again coming back to self-awareness.
100%, but definitely the North Star, because it's going to be your fuel. You need a fuel. If you don't have your fuel, if you don't know why, that's why so many people give up when they build a startup or a business, because at some point, if it was just about the money, what are you going to do if something doesn't work out? What's going to give you the drive? Because you need to have a lot of faith in your belief system and into your why to be able to continue when times are tough. And if you don't know why you're here and why you're doing it, that will be tough. And I think this is building resilience. Like, when you're so passionate what you're doing. It doesn't matter what knocks you down. It doesn't matter who says yes or no or whatever, because you know exactly where you're going. You're like, okay, fine, this didn't work. Now I try the next, but I know where I'm heading. And I think this is when you just have your tunnel vision, and it doesn't matter, right?
So you have to have a purpose.
You
That
do.
goes without saying.
100%.
That's what I actually got as a takeaway from what you said. And now the word changes fast, as we know. So even compared to, let's say, 5 to 10 years ago, how important is adaptability today as compared to years ago?
I mean, it's a lot more important now, right? Because times are so fast. So I think rigid personalities will have a hard time in the upcoming years, because we will have so much change coming our ways, right? We need to reinvent our careers. We need to reinvent what made us successful in the past, right? I think the most successful people will be flexible personalities, people who can learn fast, people who have a flexible mindset of adapting to others, their environment, and to change. And obviously, with the speed that we have right now, it will just become worse.
Right. And then do you think that we need to redefine how we actually view the risk and we approach it? The experimentation part, again, plays a role, I know. But what do you think about it? How should be the approach?
Yeah,
with
100%. I think the
regards to
question
this?
is not if you take risk, you need to take risk. If you want to go somewhere, let's say you have your North Star, you will have to take a risk, right? Because you might have to enter a territory that you know nothing about, right? So it's not about if you take risk. Yes, you need to take risks, right? But what does it mean? I think what we need to ask more is what will happen, or what is the risk about, right? If it's human life, okay, maybe don't go down that road, right? So I think it's more about the outcome behind that risk, the possible outcome behind that risk, not if. We definitely have to take risks, right? And I think there's a lot to see. It's not about yes or no. It's more about
Knowing that it's going to reshape you, remodel you into something even better.
Exactly. Just ask more like what's behind it. What is the risk? Like if I don't do it, what is the risk? If I do it, what is the risk? If the risk is way too high, like I said, human life or whatever, obviously that then is probably no, I wouldn't take that risk.
A big
right?
no, of course.
Exactly. So I think it's not if take the risk or not. It's more about what's behind that and then evaluate it, right?
Right. And so one final thing before we close today. So if a listener is going through a setback right now,
Yeah.
they're either watching us or listening us, so what would you want them to remember?
It's okay to feel shitty. We all cry. We all have to go through it, get some popcorn, give yourself time to grieve, and just accept that you're not the only one. I think when it happens to us, we always think we're the only ones that it happens to, but it's not the case. There are a lot of people out there. Maybe find other people who have been through it, especially if in business, like go to founder groups, whatsoever, talk it out there. And it helps to see that you're not the only one who's been through it. A lot of people are going through a lot of shit. And I would always say it's like, grieve it out, but
Learn from your mistakes.
learn from it. Write down, what did you learn out of it? What would you not continue? What do you want to let go, right? Maybe there were parts of it, as I said, that didn't fit where you're going. Could be people. It could be that whatever business you're working on or something or career actually is not a fit for you anymore, right? Write that down. Shape your North Star. And I always feel like people struggle to do that. Use the VIP method. I kind of came up with that for myself is, what are your values? Where do you think you can create value? Yeah, these two things. It's very important. What are you willing to accept in your life? What not? What behavior do you want from other people, etc.? Where do you think you're bringing value? Where do you make an impact, right, on a daily basis? Where do you think when I go somewhere, I help people, where can I create impact, right? Write that down. And then on the patterns of behavior, as basically, where do I go? Like, what feels natural to me, right? Where I'm usually drawn to. How do I behave with my friends, with my family, with my with the people around, surroundings, and where do I usually go to then to create an impact or to create value? Like identify these kind of patterns. And I think if you overlap these three, that would definitely help you to create some kind of North Star and get you going, and just have a routine and what it is, sports, that were just to create that.
And
Get out of your
understand,
mind.
this is not the end of the world.
It's not, it just
Redo,
sucks.
rebuild. Yeah. So it's about learning from the mistakes and, of course, redoing it
Yeah,
in a better way and progressing with it.
100%.
Right? Thank you so much, Carolyn, for being back on the show.
Yeah, thank you
It
for
was
having me.
lovely to have you on Midday Majlis talk about this different topic today. And I think we will come back to the AI next time when we sit together. I really value your time.
Yeah.
And looking forward to having you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always fun to be here.
You're welcome. So, with every setback, there is an opportunity to learn, grow, and even reinvent ourselves. And that brings us to the end of our first segment with Carolyn Baumgartner on Midday Majlis. A big shout out to the Morning Drive with Tim Elliott, your go-to show for the latest in UAE businesses, startups, techs, and of course the global headlines. Do not miss it. Weekdays from 8 in the morning until noon. You can also catch each and every one of their episodes on YouTube and, of course, on your favorite podcast platforms. This is Midday Majlis on Mira Business FM.
Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk. Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
Welcome back. I'm back on Midday Majlis, and now to shift angles. So across the UAE and the wider region, we're seeing more women stepping confidently into entrepreneurship, from fintech to AI, and registering thousands of new businesses every year, in fact, every day. So this show today is going to talk about what it actually takes for the landscape to evolve when it comes to women leaders. And going forward, I would like to share some interesting facts. What's interesting about women in startup space is that many of these founders are under 40. So it's a very young, digitally confident generation of women shaping the ecosystem. And it's not just here, across the Middle East and neighboring regions. Nearly 8 in 10 women say that they want to start a business, which signals a real cultural and the economic shift. So globally, there is progress too. More women are investing and supporting startups, though funding access is still an ongoing challenge, which makes conversations like the one we're going to have today very important. So to discuss this with us, my guest joining us is Amoy Henry, the founding partner of Founders Venture Capital. She's moved from building companies to investing in them, supporting startups as they grow across markets, including the GCC. Her perspective will make the conversation really great, I'm hoping. And I welcome her to the show. Amoy, we're so glad to have you with us here on Midday Majlis.
Thank you so much for having me, Sahar. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here.
So, Amoy, we've been actually talking about how more and more women are stepping into the startup world across the region. So, from your perspective, what's really driving more women to start businesses right now?
Great question. And I will not pretend to be an authority because I'm just new moving here and I'm just kind of building my insights and understanding of the region based on women that I've connected with and had conversations with, as well as invited into our programming and some of the early investments that we've been making. But I think there is just an interest in having a little bit more autonomy, having the ability to have some independent decision making and have resources for themselves. There's also a growing population of expats moving into the region who have, come from sort of the West or Europe with sort of an entrepreneurship mentality, or maybe they worked previously in corporations and wanted to contribute meaningfully to a new environment and start fresh through entrepreneurship. So there's, a hybrid of different reasons, but it's quite inspiring because we're seeing women start businesses in anything from parent tech, which is a very new and evolving industry, really focused on parenthood and using technology to elevate or scale businesses around the household and things like that, taking care of children, seeing a lot of startup businesses around dating, which is very interesting in the Arab world particularly, and businesses around modesty, so fashion and
But these kind of businesses are a bit unheard of.
You think so?
Yeah, I think I've never heard of that before. Like, it's something new that has come up.
Fair.
So with time, we're just coming up with different ways of starting different businesses and making them trends in a way.
I could totally agree with that. I think there's also a sense of people were doing these businesses before, in a sense, maybe not to the mass scale, but now through the adoption of technology and, things like AI, it's easier to build them and it's easier to get a wider audience and scale quicker. So you would see like apps like Service Market or, other platforms that assist people with getting, house care services, right? Childcare services. These are now being built built from everyday people who are not exactly expats, but who are learning how to adopt AI into their business framework. So it's exciting to witness. And you're right, in a sense, some of them are different, but some of them are just graduated versions of what we've already seen for many generations.
Right. So it's definitely opening more doors, clearly, as we can now come to a conclusion. And now, moving on, the younger founders, they seem to be playing a big role in shaping today's startup culture. So what do you have to say about that?
I love that you pointed out that people that are under the age of 40 have been starting businesses. That's something that we've been seeing a lot, particularly in the West, North America. I think,
and you'll be surprised, that's the case here as well in the GCC.
That's very
There's so
exciting.
many young entrepreneurs now than ever before.
I think the world is shifting, and I think our generations are valuing autonomy more. I think working at big corporations and working at big companies was once very exciting because of that security and that permanency that you felt like, okay, every 2 weeks or every month, I'm going to get a salary hitting my account and I'm going to be good to go, my bills paid, everything like that. But people are understanding.
The mentality has changed now.
Yeah, people are understanding that we are living in a global economy. So you can have a business that you're working in your 600 square foot apartment, but you're impacting somebody's life in Africa or in Asia. You have the ability to have a global workforce, right? Right now, we have a global workforce on our team. We have staff in Canada, we have staff in parts of Africa, we have staff in Europe and staff here in the Middle East. And it's just expanding. And I can literally work in my office, my home office, and I can still run my business globally. So there's the flexibility, there's the ability to make money outside of like a set salary, right? You kind of kill what you eat in a sense, eat what you kill. And so if you're able to get a lot of business and get a lot of customers, that enhances your revenue versus if you have a job, you have to wait until your
the end of the month,
right, to see certain things. And I think this globalization or this global economy is also exposing us to like young entrepreneurs, if you will,
and there's so much diversification now.
Yes, there is. There's so many different industries. There's so many different ways. And people do not feel secure with just one job anymore. People want multiple
Roles.
right? Multiple streams of revenue, and they want the ability and the comfort of knowing, okay, if this may not work out, I have this option, I have this option, I have this flexibility. And I know for myself, as someone that's been an entrepreneur for 9 years now, I used to work for the government. I came from a government background, that kind of rigidity and that discipline. And being an entrepreneur has allowed me to travel. You know, I've traveled to almost 70 countries in the world, doing my business and supporting entrepreneurs globally. And I wouldn't have that flexibility if I was locked into a 9 to 5. And people could say that COVID, right? And the aftermath of COVID, how it opened us up to working online and working globally, has changed the workforce in a sense and changed how people adapt to the experience of trying to generate income.
Definitely. And, you know, when you were just talking about all of this, what came to my mind was the freelancer work, which was
the
not a
freelance
thing.
economy is huge.
Exactly. It wasn't a thing back in the days because people were just doing one kind of job, waiting for their paycheck to come, and then
Yeah.
this is it, you know.
Absolutely.
But now things have changed. We see so many more people working as a freelance because, of course, they don't want to just do one thing
Right.
only.
Right.
But there are multiple roles. And you know what? Before, when we used to have that kind of mentality, we weren't even aware of the kind of talents and skills we had.
Right. No, it's absolutely true. We couldn't tap into them because we were almost operating under a framework of this is what I went to school for, this is my skill set, this is my abilities, this is what I was trained for. And now you have the flexibility. Again, I keep using that word, but I think that really is like the resonating word for how the millennials and the Generation X kind of see, or Generation Z, sorry, see the workforce now. It's how can I learn something quickly, adapt it, and then build something out of it, right? And so that's where you see like the Ubers and the Amazons and sort of these industries that have gone into different markets and created this massive freelance economy where people can be an Uber driver, but they can also work on Fiverr and be a graphic designer part-time, and all of these different mechanisms to be able to make money on their own terms, at their own pace. So it's very exciting.
And very convenient for a lot of people as well.
Sometimes. It's also very stressful. There can sometimes be some bottlenecks. There's a lot of competition in these kind of environments. And when you don't have specialized skill sets, you can have almost anyone applying or anyone kind of throwing up a resume and saying, hey, I want this job. And then the quality control is also different from when you're in sort of a corporate environment where in the freelance space, right, the market determines how great you are, but also you have to kind of try, so you can throw up something and maybe have really terrible results your first few tries, and then eventually the market will tell you, okay, you need to work on this. But in the corporate environment, you don't necessarily have that. You start at a certain standard and then you build up. So it goes both ways.
Right. And now moving on, Amoy, we're also seeing women launching businesses beyond the traditional sectors.
Yes.
Back in the days, the approach was, women used to think that, okay, how about I come up with a new fashion line, or maybe something to do with makeup, launch something
lifestyle
new.
businesses.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
now it's so much more to that. So which industries are you seeing the most momentum in, and what's attracting founders to them?
Such a great question, Sahar. So I'm speaking from the perspective of North America still, because I'm still understanding the GCC market. But I can talk a little bit about some of the founders that
Have
I've
you
seen at our
just
demo
moved from
day.
North America?
I've been doing a gradual move over the past 6 months. So since July, I've been slowly migrating over here, but I've done quite a few trips.
Okay.
And I just did a large demo day, and I brought founders from across the MENA to Qatar, where they were able to pitch their businesses to investors. And so these were all founders that are building tech companies across different industries, but from Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, Saudi, Qatar, and we also had founders from Canada, which was incredible as well to see those two worlds mesh. So in Canada and North America, I see a lot of founders building across different industries, but what really sticks out to me are the deep tech and clean tech, so sustainability and clean energy. And this is so interesting because, as you were mentioning, Sahar, sometimes women would not necessarily find safe spaces for them to go into those industries. But I recently invested in a startup that is building in the fuel cell technology space. So actually helping companies and everyday, like a government institution, to replace batteries and use fuel cell technology, which is easier on the environment, more financially friendly, all these different plus factors. And she's actually like scaling and signing MOUs in the Europe. So you would not see probably 10 years ago an engineer, a woman, first of all, being an engineer, but then an engineer going into that space particularly. We also have a founder that we recently invested in as well. They are building in the medtech space. So they have built a device for women to manage their period pains. Over 80% of women globally are affected with period menstrual pain. And so this device is just right on time, and it's built by 2 engineers, right? So one woman is from the Middle East, one woman is from North America, and they're partners. So she's built this, they've built together this device that allows you to manage using software controlled from your phone.
Sounds like a great collaboration.
Right? It's just exciting. I'll tell you more about it as they progress into the region.
Right.
But they use software to control the pain that you have, using like some massage techniques and all of these things. So seeing these things that, as I mentioned, we have kind of been excluded from or not necessarily interested to go into because they're hard or they're confusing, is very interesting. And I don't like to even refer to it as women entrepreneurs or women founders anymore. I just see it as founders that are building genius, dynamic businesses, solving problems that affect a lot of people, and they just so happen to be women.
Well, and you know what? You have actually done so much already coming from North America to the region. And you're right, women are actually doing great in terms of building all these kind of different business models. And of course, there's so many startups which you have also, I think, raised funds for.
Yeah, so we've been raising capital as part of our acceleration programs, which has been supported by our Canadian government and some entities such as Accenture, which is one of the largest corporations in the world. And recently, Carta has come on as a strategic partner with us. And Carta is a fund management platform that originally started in one region and is now scaling. And they have sort of a mandate to scale across the APAC regions as well as the Middle East. So we've partnered with them now, and we're going to be looking at more programs to support. But prior to that, we were able to raise capital for our startups to actually help them commercialize quicker. So it's not just about, accepting money from investors and kind of raising capital for their business operations, but it's now how can I actually make money, get into the market, have customers, and corporate innovation has been a huge strategy for us as a fund. How do we get the companies that we invest in large corporate clients so that they can hit some of their metrics quicker, they can scale quicker from sales and have like a bigger customer base to work from as opposed to going through a B2C route. So this has been interesting and exciting for us. The fundraise process is never easy. But really, when you're solving a big problem and investors can understand and identify that, and they can also see a pathway to exit through the commercialization process, it makes it a lot easier.
And I think you've raised quite a big amount, if I'm not wrong.
I will say it's not big in the grand scheme of things. What's so interesting is in North America or in the world of startups, from where I come from, 20 million is not a lot. It's almost seen as, 20 million is seen as quite a lot. It's seen as, okay, this is pretty good. This is awesome, especially for your age, especially for what you're doing. And I hate when they talk about our age as women, but it is what it is. But when I came here to the region and I said, yeah, so we're raising a fund, we're, doing this fund, I was literally told, like, your fund is too small. You need a bigger fund because how are we going to invest in $10 million fund? So we actually did a lot of research, we did a lot of scoping, had conversations, traveled to multiple GCC countries.
And again, is this because of the competition?
in terms of the size of the fund.
Right.
I don't exactly know if it's that. I think maybe it comes down to operational and administration pieces. I think what ends up happening is for them to invest or deploy that amount of capital in you, it requires a lot of administrative labor. And so is it worth it for them to kind of deploy a small amount, which they have to kind of manage and oversee, or is it better to kind of deal with something that's larger and then can yield bigger, more sizable returns in the future? So that's kind of one challenge. When it came to fundraising before, for my clients previously and for the companies that we supported, we were raising things like 1 million, 2.5 million, 500K. And so that was different conversations. But here,
Which currency are we referring to here?
we're referring to USD.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's make that clear for
Of
our
course,
audience.
yes.
And, Moy, there are times when businesses come to our mind. We think of ideas and we want to start this business, but we're doing all the work in isolation, right? We don't really have a support system. So how important are the mentorship networks and early guidance for founders starting out? Founders can be any at this point. We can refer to both men and women.
Yeah, that is such a great question. I think the latest data to come out says 90% of businesses fail or 80% of startups fail within the first 5 years of operation. However, when they are accelerated or incubated or going through specific programs that focus on advisory support, fractional support, and guidance, they have a 50% likelihood, they're 2 times more likely to survive than not going through. So if you're working in isolation, like working in silos, not necessarily engaging with the ecosystem or partnerships that are critical to your success, or engaging with fractional support, you have a higher likelihood of failing than you do. So then you don't. So what we do with our accelerator program, which is now coming into the region, is we help our founders staff. So we help them with their operations, bringing in fractional chief experts, so fractional technical officer, fractional chief marketing officer, fractional CFO, so financial officer, as well as fractional information officers around like cybersecurity and things like that. And this helps to safeguard the businesses and also prepare them for customer growth, right? It's so important for startups to be supported, not just through mentorship, but actually through strategic guidance and advisory services. One thing that I think is so critical with our accelerator support is we kind of offer a circular economy in a sense. So some of our founders will come in and they provide services to other founders, and they kind of work in tandem with each other to ensure that they have revenue that they're generating within their ecosystem, and then outside it prepares them to go and secure bigger contracts and bigger customers. So it's really vital to have that support and to have those networks in place. But there are businesses that have succeeded without it, but it's just a lower likelihood.
Right. So guidance really does build the confidence and the credibility both.
I think so.
Great. And we are running out of time, Moy, but before we close, I would like to ask you that what trends should we watch over the next 5 years when it comes to women and innovation?
Yes, women are stepping outside of the frameworks that they have been, I guess, unfairly placed in over the generations. Women are building businesses that are not stereotypical. There's a founder here, actually in the UAE, amazing woman founder. She's built a company in construction AI, so helping construction specialists and workers identify environmental factors that could affect the structure of what they're building.
As we always say, UAE is the land of opportunity. So
100%. So there's so many.
The journey starts here for sure.
So many businesses that are building outside of the framework of what's expected, and it's all about staying tuned. So AI, construction, real estate, blockchain, crypto, which is massive here in the UAE. In Qatar, health is a very, very big industry. And if we look at markets like Saudi and Oman, government structures, finance, these things. So yeah, those are things to look out for as far as trends.
And overall, the entertainment sector is also booming in the region. so
Entertainment,
there are many
hospitality.
opportunities there.
Yes, entertainment, hospitality, travel, tourism, and like social networking and social marketing, content creation, influencer partnerships are a massive industry to pay attention to here as well.
Yes, it is. And now, so looking forward together, I think we're just looking towards the more and more advancement and success for women in startup world. Thank you so much, Amoy, for being able to join us today.
Thank you. I appreciate
And
you.
of course, I had a lot of other questions to ask you, but we're running out of time. So I guess we'll do it another time.
Yes, I'm happy to come back anytime. I'm very close to you.
You're
so
more than welcome.
yes, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.